Good evening, all. Welcome to the Midweek Mix-Up podcast. You are joined this week by special guests General C and Shaun the Sheriff from the Gamers Watch podcast. Unfortunately, Harry could not be with us this evening as his doggo is sick. So all the best to Harry and the doggo. Hope he's well. But we shall have some fun regardless. Before we get into today's topics, we will introduce our panel for this evening. So, first of all, our sole survivor this week, Shomberlon. How you doing, brother? What you been up to?
I have been not gaming this week. I've barely played anything this week, unfortunately. Excuse me, just grabbing uni work. Pretty much, yeah. And planning 2 holidays.
Oh.
So they're very, very far out. I'm planning next year, hopefully in April time, to spend 6 or 7 days walking the Great Highland Way, which is a 96-mile walk between a place just outside Glasgow, which I can't pronounce, so I will not try and I won't do that.
You won't try and butcher it.
Yeah, I've seen it, and it's just kind of like, yeah, I can see how it's said like that. But when you break it down into English phonetically, it's just like Milne Grave or something like that. Anyway, it's from there to Fort William, which is 96 miles, and it takes about 5 to 7 days depending on what your walking speed is. And I'm hopefully doing it with my best mate, and we are planning on free camping because in Scotland you can basically hitch up a tent anywhere on public land. The only place you can't do it is along the banks of Loch Lomond.
Right.
So hopefully the idea is to just free camp it, maybe stay in a campsite on one night just to get showered and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then my other one is another trip with my best mate, but this time hiking in Canada.
Oh.
Planning on spending 2 to 3 weeks in Banff, Yoho, and I can't remember the other name of the other national park. But basically just taking pictures, making videos, and just hiking and having just a chilled out time. So I'm trying to organize those. That's been my week instead of gaming.
Awesome stuff. Brilliant. Next up, General C. How are you doing today, brother? What you been up to? What you be gaming on?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I've been playing the Artful Escape, and I have a parcel play of that coming up, so I don't really want to go too much into details on that. But what I will say is I was recording my first session on it, and I usually record in hour segments, and I forgot I was recording, and then ended up having a 2-hour-long processing job for that, so that was fun.
Happy days. Have you been diving into anything else other than the Artful Escape?
No, unfortunately, I've been a bit too busy, just with other life things.
Yes, indeed. And last but not least, Shaun the Sheriff, our resident podcaster from Gamers Watch Crew and writer for the ironlords.net. How are you doing today, brother? And what you been up to? What you been playing?
I'm all good, sir. I've been playing the Artful Escape as well since it came out the other day, and then also finally getting around to playing Horizon Zero Dawn, because I never got around to playing it when it first came out, and it's been sat on my PlayStation for years. So I've been trying to get it done before Forbidden West. And then only other thing really I've been doing is moving a holiday as well, as we were originally supposed to be going to Disneyland Paris last November, which then got moved to this November, and now we're moving it from this November to hopefully next June, because it'll tie in with my 30th then. So It'll be a birthday holiday.
Are you staying there?
Yeah, it'll be a week overall, the holiday, but like 5 full days in the park, because we're going to drive up to the Channel, Eurostar, where it's called, stay at the Premier Inn, and then drive over to France the next day. So it'll be five full days at the parks, but a week total for the holiday.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. That I stayed. I think it was like the 2nd or 3rd year it was open. I stayed in the Santa Fe Hotel at Disneyland Paris.
Ooh. Yeah, I never. But I went when I was about 4 or 5, so I can't really remember that one too well. I'm not sure. I think we stayed at Santa Fe's it's now Cars, I think, but it was like Mexican.
Yeah.
I remember right. Yeah, we stayed at that one. Then the last time I went was Hotel Cheyenne, which is the Toy Story one, because I'm a sucker for Toy Story, so I had to stay at that one. And then hopefully this one will be Newport, so a bit of a step up.
Awesome stuff. To be fair, I was looking at Disney World again the other day, but because of COVID, they've altered significantly the way they're selling things to European/UK visitors. So at the moment there is no dining plan. They've scrapped that, and they've introduced a £950 limit for a room as credit for a 2-week period, which is nothing, as you know. If you split that between 2 people for food in Disney, that wouldn't cover you for a week, let alone 2. And then they've also removed the fast passes and put them to Genie Plus, so you can purchase them yourself, which is weird. And also the prices went up from last time I went, which was about £1,700 for 2 weeks, including everything, £2,300 including nothing. That's a huge pass for me at the moment until they figure that stuff out and dining plan and everything comes back. So,
just think if you get the 2,300, you're just a third of the way at staying at the Star Wars hotel
for a night,
for a weekend, yeah,
for a wonderful night, yeah, the most epic one night, £2,500 splurge ever. Jesus. But yeah, never mind. What do you make, Shaun, of Horizon then? Since you've been very belated in starting it, what's your initial thoughts on it then?
It is really good fun. I am loving it. I can't really find much to fault. Like, the only thing I can think of is just because I got a bit frustrated on it earlier was one of the bosses when you go into the cauldrons, I think they're called.
Yeah.
It's this massive thing, and you're in a tiny room, so it was the controls got a bit finicky with the camera, but other than that, I can't fault it at all. I've been having an absolute blast with it.
Yeah.
I've got the Frozen Wilds as well to play through after.
Good. I was going to say I want to see your impressions of the game late on as you get into it, because early on I was having a really good time with Horizon. Up until anywhere between 25-35 hours, and then it started to be a little bit grindy.
Right.
That's how I felt on it.
The slog across the map.
Yeah, I have started fast traveling a lot more.
Yeah.
There was also
certain areas you can't fast travel to, and that becomes a problem. So you can fast travel, but you've got to locate that place before you can fast travel to it. And the further on you get in the game, then it starts telling you to go to places you've never been before all the time. And you're like, right, okay, so then you can't fast travel there, and then you've got to use the horse or whatever it is that you've connected to get there, or run.
Yeah.
And the slog becomes a little bit more of a pain in the arse. But I mean, in terms of gameplay, brilliant. Combat, good. Story, great at the start. You get to a point where you think it's pretty much near the end, and it isn't. And then it starts to drag a bit. And it starts to drag a bit.
I've got to a bit today in the story where it doesn't feel like it's at the end, but it feels like it's picking up, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like it started to explain and reveal different things. So I'll be interested to know how far away I am from that bit now. But I also found there was a huge difficulty spike as you leave the sort of first big area.
Massive.
So
just run as fast as you can run.
Yeah. That's what I ended up doing. At
Don't
first
try
I was
and
like,
fight the birds. Never try and fight the birds.
That's exactly what I done. Oh, there's a couple of birds up in the sky and a few bulls. I got absolutely slaughtered.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Shouldn't have done it.
Annihilated as soon as you even attempt to go in. You're like, I'll just fight this. No, run away. Bad idea. But then they chase you forever.
I should really give Horizon another chance. I gave up on it like halfway through.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it.
I'm probably about 3/4 of the way through, and I need to finish it. And I need to sit down and finish. The problem I've got now is because, and this is a problem for anybody who's got both platforms, but have one of them on next gen and the other one on previous gen. And obviously I've just got the PS4 Pro, so trying to use a last gen console after being on something that's as quick as the next gen consoles is so painful.
I tried that with Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, not only that, but the PlayStation 4 Pro is loud, which means when I play that thing, I have to wear headphones to be able to hear what the fuck is going on. Otherwise, I've got to turn the TV up to like cinema levels of loudness. But yeah, Shaun, you mentioned that you actually really enjoyed it. Did you finish the game?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm near the end of the first section on the new Game Plus on the hardest setting.
Ooh. Nice. Have you played Frozen Wilds, or have you not dived into that yet?
Not dived into that because when I got the PlayStation Pro for that game, and then I got it for the game, but I couldn't find the actual copy of the game, so I rented it, and then I got the Frozen Wilds in a sale a couple of months ago.
Nice.
So I've kind of delved in, but I can't remember the story. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I do remember at the time actually thinking it was an all right story, and it kept me intrigued as to actually what was going on and what had happened with civilization for them to be where they are now.
Yeah, to have devolved so much.
Yeah. So I'm actually quite looking forward to, because I'll probably finish that before the new one, because new one will probably be a day one for me, because I'm one of the rare people that actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, like I say, it's not that I didn't enjoy it. It's just to the tail end, and you might be able to say, I don't know, like after. I want to talk about it without spoiling it for Shaun, but after you get to a certain section where they kind of explain what happened, and I think you know what part I'm talking about, Shaun. After you've kind of spoke to quite a few people and they explain to you just what happened, and then you leave that section, you go down. And then you get like.
I can't remember what happened. I can't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, let alone what happened in the story 3 or 4 years ago.
I want to know whether or not the story picks back up again, like because it slowed down after that. It seemed like it went to a crest, and you were like, right, okay, so surely I'm going to fight like a mega boss or something here, and that's going to be the story wrapped up. And then it kind of petered off a little bit.
If I kind of. Thinking back, I think you actually go beyond what actually happened with the civilization. The story goes past that, and moves on to something else. And then there's the battle at the end. I wouldn't even call it a boss battle per se, as in like what we think. You against a huge thing or a strong person. It's a little bit different to that. But yeah, I give it another go, especially with a new one coming out. It's worth finishing and having that fresh in your mind, because I can't remember, so I'm not really spoiling it. But I'm sure there will be characters or events that will be referred to in the second one that if you haven't completed, you'll be like, who's this person? What's going on here? Or I'm sure, in fact, they might even have a previously on.
Hopefully. I mean, most games
situation.
should do that for sequels these days anyway. I like how Psychonauts did it. Psychonauts did a whole wrapping up of your previous game.
Yeah, that's good for someone like me that never played the original.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of games that, like, if you have a break, it kind of gives you a quick synopsis of where you are in the story. I can't name those names, but I do remember coming across
a few of them like that.
Yeah, and I think that should be. I'm not taking credit for this because I saw this on Twitter. Somebody else saying if the game sees that you haven't played it for like a week or two, just a quick while you're waiting, while it's loading up. I know that's a bit thing to say with these new consoles, but just even if it's just an option you can tick that before it loads it up, it gives you this brief. This is what's happened, and then it carries you on.
I think a lot more games should do that going forward. I think that would be really good. Specifically, I mean, even on the Halos, like Master Chief Collection, etc. They've got I'm sure they've got some kind of theater thing where you can kind of play back sections or areas. But I think even just a wrap up of the story so far helps people. I mean, obviously, in an ideal world, if you've got like all the time in the world, you go back and play the games that you haven't played before. But I mean, but we don't all live in that luxury where we've got all the time in the world to be able to go back and just sit through every game in the history of each game.
So I think with Infinite there should be an option to have a catch up on the whole game, or the whole games, should I say?
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Specifically because a lot of people wouldn't have played Halo Wars going into Halo Infinite, and there's quite a lot of it in Halo Infinite that is related to Halo Wars. And I think that
the fact that it's in Game Pass as well is going to be so many new people coming and playing Halo for the first time.
Yeah,
I know. I want to go through and play it all on Legendary, but I don't have time to do much at the moment, which is frustrating. And it'll probably be like that up until the new Halo, so that's going to be out the window.
Yeah. I'd love to, but playing everything on Legendary takes so much time. It's so much time.
I'm trying to find the time to continue playing it with Marion. I started Halo Reach with Marion. We were going to go through all of them.
They're long as well when you go back to back. And if you start kind of, if you start in order, that's a big.
It's a big.
And they're even longer when you're playing on Legendary.
Oh, God. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and on the Halo news, before we go into our topics, of course, if you haven't already registered, is the time passed now, or is it tomorrow?
It was 13th of September. You needed to sign up.
If you were registered by the 13th of September, then you will be able to play the new flight that is on the 24th, which is next weekend, I do believe. Not this, but the weekend after, 24th onward. Yes, it is. That's right. On the weekend of the 24th, the new flight, which includes big team battles. So as long as you're already registered and set up for that, then you'll be able to play Halo Infinite's big team battles tech flighting when that commences on the 24th. So that will be awesome. Obviously, whoever's signed up, look forward to seeing you in there. We'll definitely get quite a few people on and see what it's all about. I haven't played Halo Infinite yet. Didn't play the first tech flight, and I said I wasn't going to, but it's multiplayer, it's not campaign, so I've kind of persuaded myself otherwise to give it a try. I may as well get the hang of it before I jump into the campaign. At least I'm not spoiling anything in that sense.
Yeah, we'll play it all together. It'll be a blast.
Yes, indeed. Our first topic, and it's going to be a nice one, but potentially quite a hard one to already talk about here. With a few big games still yet to release this year. But so far, we're going to dive into our Game of the Year contenders for 2021 as it stands. And I'm going to start with Shaun the Sheriff. Shaun, out of all the games you've played in 2021 so far, what are currently sitting in your, let's say, top 3 Game of the Year contenders?
Hang on, before we start,
Yes.
can we kind of clarify the game of the year? We're talking about like the Keeleys, or are we talking about from the 1st of January?
1st of January to up until now.
Right, so you can't have
No 2020 games. Yeah.
no Cyberpunks. All right,
No
okay.
Cyberpunks. Yeah.
Oh, there goes Crash 4.
Yeah. January onwards this year.
I'll start with the obvious one, Psychonauts 2. That is just an immense game. Platformers are like my favorite genre as well, so I was always going to like it, but I never would have predicted how good of a game it turned out to be.
Yeah.
It's something no matter what sort of games you normally enjoy, you just need to give it a try, because the characters, the art direction, the soundtrack, the level design, just the variety, the story as well is just immense. All of it comes together perfectly. So, but that was a bit obvious, I think. Second one, I'm going to say new Pokemon Snap, because I still play that every now and then when I can get on my Switch.
In a million years.
No, I love new Pokemon Snap. It's
I remember
such a
them
relaxing
announcing
game to play.
I completely went over my head that thing actually released.
It's so good. I think it helps as well that it's the sort of a casual game that Lucia is able to play and enjoy as well. So if we both can't think of anything to do for the evening, we will just both play Pokemon Snap and share different ways to find new Pokemon or to get a Pokemon to do a certain action. So I'll put that as my second one. Third one, it's tough. Would Flight Sim count? Because I only played it this year because of the console version. I couldn't play it on PC. If not, then Death Store.
I would right. Okay, well there you go. There's your backup anyway. But I would say yes in terms of Flight Sim, only because it is the first time ever it has been on a console. So it is also the first time a lot of people would have ever experienced that game due to the limitations of how good you need a PC to be able to play that frigger anyway on PC. It's opened up such a much wider audience. So I think yes, that would count, because a lot of people didn't get the chance when it launched on PC last year, and this is officially the launch year for the first time ever on a console. So yeah, so would you say that's a joint? If Flight Sim joint with Death's Door then?
No, I'd probably put Flight Sim above it. I must admit, because it's a game as well. I can see me easily keep it installed for several years and just jump in and out. I think it was on here when we were talking about it. I said it's the perfect game now that I've got the Series S in the office with me, where if I'm waiting for something to render, I can just jump in, fly about for a little while, land, and jump back out, sort of thing. So I can see me playing that for quite a few years still.
Oh god, yeah, and the fact that they're just consistently updated all of the time, and they will do for a very long time, because Flight Sim is one of those games, even on PC, it is consistently, and because they've got a modding community that add consistently to it as well, and now those modders have got 2 platforms to think about. That's going to keep them busy going forward, but it's also going to continue to grow the world of Flight Sim for a very long time as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with it, and of course, we've got the God of War. We've got not God of War, sorry. Top Gun. Where the hell did God of War come from? Speaking of which, dear me. We've got the Top Gun expansion, which has been delayed a few months because obviously they had the spoilers in there that tied in with the actual movie, and then because the movie got delayed, that got delayed. But we still do have the multiplayer flying races to come up, which I'm really looking forward to. Of course, me and you did the toboggan runs down the valley anyway from Everest, which was just insane.
Still need to do Grand Canyon.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I might have to jump on that tonight, actually. Now I've got to think of it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the races now, and obviously that adding the P51 Mustangs in for that racing segment. I'm definitely going to be wanting to play it because that's one of my favourite World War II era planes. But the consistent world updates and add-ons and things like that, that is a game for the future, most definitely, as well as just now, and it's something you can easily jump into for half an hour and jump back out of And yeah, completely agree. In terms of Pokemon Snap, then for yourself, the one thing I want to touch on with Nintendo though that always stops me from really digging into their games properly, and I don't know whether or not you agree with this, but they need some form of achievement system.
Yeah, I'd agree. I personally don't care much for achievements or trophies, but I understand how they can like massively help with longevity in a game. So it's not something that I personally worry about with Nintendo games, but I do think in general they should implement something like that.
Yeah.
And like some form of tracking stats and stuff across the games and compare them with friends. But
because the only thing you've got so far for Nintendo is play hours. You can see how long you've played on that game, but that's it.
I think even that's not overly specific once you get to a certain playtime, is it? I think it's
just
it like starts jumping up in tens
2
or
days.
something.
Yeah, 20 hours, 30 hours, 40 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Animal Crossing, too long.
Yeah. Yeah, mate. So your list then was Psychonauts, Flight Sim, Pokemon Snap. Was there any particular order of those?
Yeah. Psychonauts 2 at the top, definitely. I'm not sure about Pokemon Snap and Flight Sim. They're just two completely different games, and on my list for two completely different reasons. So I'm not too sure which order I'd put them in.
Right. Okay, so they're kind of a joint second, third at the moment.
Yeah, they can share the silver.
Sweet. And before we move on to General C, do you foresee anything for the remainder of this year up until the end of December that could sneak into that top spot, or potentially push one of those titles down or out of the top 3?
If it's gonna be any game, it would probably be Forza Horizon 5, just because I love motorsports in general. So if any game was to creep its way into those top 3, it would be Forza, and I imagine it will. I can't see there being any doubt of how good Forza will be.
What game is he going to push out? Is he going to push out Snap, or is he going to push out Flight Sim? Oh, that's a toughie.
That is. I would probably say it would push out Flight Sim. I've got to have some non-Xbox thing just to keep some people happy. But yeah, it would probably push out Flight Sim because there'll be very similar games where it will be, I've got half hour, I'll jump into one of these two sort of thing and either fly around or race around.
Yeah, it's a good point. Spoiled for choice, so that could end up being either getting pushed out entirely or joint third or second.
Yeah, I'll just have like 6 games joint second.
Yeah, you're like, no. Forza Horizon and Flight Sim are joint on third, simply because you can jump into them for a short period and either race or fly. Pretty much summarizes it. Nice.
Or do flying racing.
Or fly racing, yes. You can't do race flying though. You can't.
Not yet.
Not in Forza. Not yet. They haven't introduced.
Not until the expansion.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. I'm really intrigued to see what they end up doing with that for the expansions on Mexico. Really intrigued, like where they can go with that, what they're going to do.
They've got the Hot Wheels, 3 of the Hot Wheels cars in at launch, according to the list that came out a little while ago. So I don't know if it's just going to be the cars or if we'll see like, I forgot what the game mode's called, where you can create your own stuff now in the new one. Yeah. If they'll have like the Hot Wheels tracks in that as well.
I think that'll be more related to the build your own game mode / build your own race track type of thing.
Yeah,
but it is going to be because they keep changing it up every series. Of course, you had Hot Wheels, which was literally amazing. It was the perfect expansion to Forza, and then you had Lego, which again was very contrasting but extremely well done. So it'll be very interesting to see what they do this time round. So they've had Lego, they've had Hot Wheels. What else can you introduce into this?
Let's go kart racing with power-ups.
Like Mario.
Yeah. Mario and CTR crossed with Forza
Crash Team
Horizon.
Racing was always better, in my opinion.
Yep. Crash in general.
Yep.
That's a Crash Bandicoot in general.
Yep. That's a topic for another day, though. I can go on about that for quite a while.
Yeah.
General C.
Hello.
Your top 3 so far for the 2021 campaign dating from January up until now.
I've not really played a whole lot of new games this year. Most of my games I've been catching up on backlog stuff. But one of the games I did play that was new this year was Resident Evil 8, and I really loved how that was like a good amalgamation of pretty much every Resident Evil game.
Yes.
And like halfway through that game, there was such an amazingly scary bit, and it terrified me. And I completed that game about 6 times, and every time I got to that bit, I was still terrified of it. So that's right up there to be a Game of the Year contender. I still need to complete Psychonauts 2, and that's looking like it could be a Game of the Year contender for me as well. Other than that, I've not really played a whole lot of 2020 games, 2021 games. Most of mine is backlog, like Hellblade, but that's something that can't be a Game of the Year.
What about The Ascent or Death's Door or any indies or Flight Sim, anything?
I still haven't completed The Ascent. I need to go back after all the fixes and go through that.
Yep.
I want to say it, but I don't want to give it away because it is a game that I've played or am playing at the moment, and I don't want to give it away because it's a pass or play title.
Yep. Which you'll have to.
I know a lot of people are saying it's not a game because there's not really much gameplay elements to it, but there's just something special about it.
Yep. Okay. So I mean, what would you say then is contender if you haven't got a set top 3 so far? What are your contenders for top 3 at the moment?
For top 3, Resident Evil, Resident Evil 8, Psychonauts 2.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say it. The Artful Escape. I'm just gonna say it. I had to say it. It's too good.
The guitar riffs just got to you.
Yeah, like I had a smile on my face the whole time playing it. I've never felt so happy playing a game.
That is awesome to hear. I'm interested to hear in your points as well when your video comes out on the weekend. Like, really interested to hear your points and just see the game more. Even though I am playing it at the moment, it's still just really cool to watch. It's a really cool game.
It's been a hard one to try and script because explaining the way the game made me feel and all that stuff. But yeah, hopefully it should be a good video. I don't want to spoil too much in the video as well, so I'm trying not to talk too much about spoiler stuff in there.
Definitely. And what would then, same question applies to you then, out of everything that's left to come out for the remainder of this year, is there anything that you could think would sneak into your top 3? Push something out? Is there anything that really sticks out to you?
Could easily be Halo Infinite. I'm a huge Halo fan. I was let down by the last couple of Halo games, and I feel that this Halo game needs to be the best Halo game it can be. So I'm just hoping that it is.
Yep.
So that could easily become my game of the year if they've done the game justice.
And fingers crossed. Really fingers crossed. That's all we can hope for. Awesome stuff. Shomberlon. Out of all the games you have played quite a few games this year, of course, up until recently where uni's kind of hindered your progress. But what's sticking in there so far for kind of top 3 game of the year so far?
It's quite hard because there's games I know that are good, but I haven't played enough, so I can't say that they would be game of the year. So things like Death's Door, I'm still in the first boss area, the witch woman, but I'm really enjoying that game. But that's right at the beginning of the game. I can't say that that's a game of the year contender just so early on. Same with Psychonauts. I'm not far enough in that, so it does kind of limit my choice because I do, like you said, with uni, I feel like a crash test dummy. I've just hit a wall with my gaming at the moment. But it's already been mentioned, but I did complete it like 4 times and have spent an obscene amount of time on it, and that's Resident Evil Village. And I said at the time, it has to be up there for Game of the Year at that moment, and it probably still is. I enjoyed the one before that, but it didn't grip me as much as Village.
Yeah, there was something special about Village.
Yeah, the only thing that I've not completed was the last achievement was the Mercenaries.
Oh yeah,
achievement. There's one. There's like I need to do the Mercenaries thing. I can't be bothered. I really can't be bothered with that.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of the Mercenaries mode.
Just it's part skill, part luck, and I can't be bothered. Yeah, I can't be bothered. I'm quite happy to sit with all but one. So yeah, so that's one. Hades is another. I know again that's that was a contender last year, but as it's new on Xbox, I'm gonna count it. I'm really enjoying Hades. I suck at it. I've had like 30 odd runs and I've still not made it completed a run. So I suck at it. I make stupid mistakes.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. Don't worry. I'm exactly
like there's one time against a boss, and it was the first boss. It was an easy boss, but I blew like 2 of my hearts because I'd kind of dashed into the spikes and hadn't noticed my health going down while I was just too focused on getting as many hits in. So it's just stupid stuff like that that's hindering me. So yeah, Hades is one, and I'm probably going to go with Hitman 3 for the last.
Oh.
Just because I love those. I love the stealth games. I love those types of games.
Yes, you do. And considering the fact that mentioning no names, a particular character hasn't been revitalized in a number of years, Hitman 3's kind of been the one to fill that void. So.
It is, but for me, Hitman 3's it's a different kind of stealth game. It's a puzzle. For me, it's a puzzle stealth game. It's figuring out how to accomplish stuff in certain things. You know, being able to use different everyday objects as weapons, using things to create accidents and stuff like that, rather than like a Splinter Cell where it's, you know, sticking to the shadows, knowing when to go, when to move, who to knock out rather than kill, where to stack the bodies. So it's a different kind of stealth genre. But it's still, yeah, I really enjoy it. I really enjoy those types of games, just figuring out. And again, there's still a little bit of luck to it, because sometimes he's like, the guy doesn't go to the right place, or he does, but then a guard follows him, so it cuts your window down.
Right.
And then next time you go through, that guard might not go there. So again, that just stops it getting boring. It stops you just kind of going A, B, C, D, E, F, done. You know, you keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
If you knew the movement of everybody, then it would be boring.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome stuff. And is there anything then that's coming out for the remainder of the year so far that you think could push out any of those games?
Again, as just mentioned, Halo, but it's a big if. For me, Halo's either going to do extremely well or it's going to bomb.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I'm feeling.
And I'm not talking about
I think personally the multiplayer will be fine. Like that'll do well regardless. It's simply down to the campaign, whether or not that does well or bombs.
I want to believe that with them taking out the co-op, which I have to be honest with you, I'm a little disappointed, not going to lie, but it's not the end of the world. It's a 3-month wait. People are acting like they've completely removed the feature, and they might put it in a couple of years. It's a 3-month wait. So it's not the end of the world. So as long as the game runs well, you know, there's no popping, there's no stuttering, there's no crashes, I think it's got a very good chance of pushing one out. Again, I don't think it has a chance in the Keeleys just because it's Halo.
Does it fit into his by then?
I was going to say, does it fit into his time frame?
Oh, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. So it's definitely not going to win because A, next year's stacked with both PlayStation and Xbox having some absolutely fantastic games coming out, and B, people forget about it. People will relate it to being a 2021 game, even though it qualified for 2022. I don't know why they don't have the keys in January, like the first 2 weeks of January.
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
Well,
but I think
there's
potential,
like late December or beginning of December, even just like 2 weeks before Christmas. Have them then.
Well, I think that December 8th would still be too soon to call a game of the year. Even if it came out the day before, it's too soon. So I think give it a whole year and have your game of the year thing like the first week of January or something, or second week of January. But yeah, I think if the story is solid, then I would probably knock out Hades for it. But yeah, again, I can see it being a big if. The media you can already tell that the media is stacked against it. They're already making big deals of this. There's no co-op, and no co-op will be a massive. Let's knock off 3 points because
and the reviews immediately, even though everybody knows what it wasn't there, they'll still make it a point on review.
Yeah. So, I was going to give it this, but I'm going to knock 3 points off because it's not got a feature that I'm not overly bothered with, or I can't wait 3 months. Or you'll get the other things that did like with the Medium. Did you see that? I think I sent it you.
Yeah.
The Medium, same site, same reviewer, 5 point difference with the Medium. And it's just kind of like, oh, come on, man. It plays better on the, like, when you look at frame rate and whatnot, and it's got, what's it called now? Oh, my brain's gone.
Slightly higher resolution, I think it was, but it's got no ray tracing.
Ray tracing. Yeah, it's got ray tracing difference, and they gave it for the funky triggers.
Yeah, which other reviewers knocked it down on and said it just feels meaningless and pointless.
But this is the whole thing with Metacritic. This is why I don't ever use Metacritic as I use it as a kind of to find out major flaws in stuff.
Yeah.
If reviewers are all kind of saying, look, no, this is happening X, Y, and Z, I don't care about the scores, because you'll get one person saying that the writing is lazy and the game's boring, and then you'll get somebody else saying it's extremely well written and exciting from start to finish. So that's why reviewers there's no point to them. I think it's, I can't remember who said it, but basically find a couple of people that normally resonate with your thinking and stick with them. For me, it's always like Ains and Season Gaming. They tend to go in my favor with some stuff other than the Mass Effect debate, but we won't go into that.
Call it, Shaun. We'll get Ains into this afterwards.
Every day. Mass Effect 2 every day.
You heard it here, Ains. You've been called out.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a handful of people that I'll look at and go, you know what? Like with Biomutant, that's another game that I haven't finished, but I wouldn't have given a second thought. And then Ains is raving about it, so I was like, all right, okay. And my game share partner ended up buying it, but I wouldn't have bothered with it. So if you can find yourself a good handful of people, and I'm not talking about people that you blindly follow, but if there's people, YouTubers or even journalists that you normally kind of line up with how you see things, how you think about games, stick with them. I don't care what anybody else says.
Yeah. That's really what you've got to do in terms of reviewers. Like one of the reviewers that I follow, like Seasons Game is one of them specifically that I follow, but of course, ACG that we had on last week, he's also a really good reviewer, but also I tend to find that I pretty much line up with his way of thinking. And it was like, his reviews are really top notch, and I would put them probably in line with Season Gaming in the way he does his reviews, because he doesn't give them like a score. He gives it just a pass up. I think it's a play, pass, or wait for sale or something like that. So it's a much easier way of looking at things instead of like trying to give someone an actual review score.
Yeah, I mean, the review score thing doesn't work anyway, because you have sites that only work on a 5-point system. So 3 out of 5 is it's a decent game. It's a good game, but when you go down to a Metacritic thing, that's 6 out of 10 or 60 out of 100.
Yeah.
Which is like, really, only a 60? Whereas no, it's not. It's a 3 out of 10. A 3 out of 5, sorry. So the review things doesn't work. There's another site. I can't remember who did it, but I think it's a whole kind of like buy, rent, avoid or something like that.
Yes.
And that's how they score it. They say, it's a definite buy. No, rent it or sale. Wait for a sale or avoid it at all cost type thing, which I think is a better way. I know it can't work for these
actual
sites,
scored sites. Yeah,
but it's kind of like, well, too much has been put on points. So just say, I definitely would recommend it. Yeah, absolutely go for it. Or you can, but I would probably wait for a sale. Or no, don't touch it. That's the best way of doing it.
Yeah, 100%. So for me, so far for 2021, I'm not going to include Flight Sim only because I played Flight Sim when it was on PC. So for me, that doesn't particularly count, even though I'd love to include Flight Sim on there. Psychonauts 2, even though I haven't finished it yet, it's very much in the running for one of my Game of the Years. Again, love the platform. I absolutely love the platform, and I was saying this for a long time that Xbox needed a platformer that was going to fill that void. They didn't have a specific platformer or team that could make a platformer like Insomniac did with Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank, as much as the story's not like super intricate or anything like that, the gameplay was fun. Stayed the same throughout pretty much the entirety of its series, but it was a really good platformer, and I enjoyed that series. So to see Psychonauts 2 come out and not only kind of impress on an insane visual side of things, but also in terms of the depth of the story and the subjects it hits and the art style and the characters and just how alive the world feels as a whole, and the puzzle elements and how much of a variance they've got between all the different worlds and how dynamic everything is. It's such a well done game from top to bottom that it has no doubt in there for Game of the Year from me so far. Another one I'd probably like to put in there, I would probably say The Ascent for me as well goes in there. As much as that it is buggy and can have some issues, I had a lot of fun on The Ascent. A lot of fun. Specifically when you've got co-op going on and you're playing with friends and it starts getting like crazy. And again, the level of detail for that indie game is just absolutely insane. And also, I've got to say, not just because, of course, we've had him on the show quite a few times, but creeping in there is Joe with Song of Iron. Now, I've had the chance to obviously review the game, but I've played through and finished that game twice, and he's firmly in there in my top 3 so far in terms of memorable. And if you finish the game and kind of got through it, you'll kind of understand why in terms of the story and how the story finishes. Did not see the twist coming near the end, but it's very intriguing to see what he can do next for that. So that's also in there. In terms of games, I anticipate knocking some of those games out straight away. Forza Horizon 5, without shadow of a doubt, is going to be flying straight into that top 3. Probably going to go straight into the second slot and knock out The Ascent. I'm hoping the Gunk still comes out this year, but I'm very intrigued to see what that team does with the Gunk. It certainly looks like a different puzzle platformer. That also reminds me a little bit like Mario Sunshine. Instead of like mopping things up with a vacuum to get the sludge away, you're also doing something very similar with this particular platformer. And I don't know whether or not anybody else who played Mario Sunshine got the vibes from when they seen the Gunk. Shaun, you might kind of ring a bell to yourself. Did that?
Yeah, I can see the connection. I mean, I haven't played Mario Sunshine for donkey's years, but I can definitely see the similarity.
Yeah, wearing a vacuum on your back.
Yeah.
Mop up that sludge. It just depends on how they do it, but I'm very intrigued to see it because I'm very much a fan of platformers. It's old school gaming. Like you've got to think like when gaming was pretty much at its peak in terms of being more mainstream. A lot of it was platformers. So you had Medieval, you had Spyro, you had Mario. Again, you had Psychonauts when that came out, the original one. It's just an abundance. And obviously you had Rayman as well at the time when Rayman was doing really well. So when platformers were king, and obviously Crash Bandicoot, but when platformers were king, they were literally everybody played them all. Pretty much every one of them. Like everyone's played Spyro, everyone's played Crash Bandicoot. You've played those. A lot of people might have played Medieval. Now I remember just playing Medieval on demo disc on PlayStation before it came out.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Love the old demo discs. Bring them back. I want demo discs returned, please. But yeah, platformers. I love platformers. And Psychonauts and Ratchet have really brought them back into the limelight. I didn't think much of the newest Crash Bandicoot, if I'm honest, Shaun. Obviously, Crash 4 came out not too long ago, and I think that one didn't really hit the strides that previous Crashes have done. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I liked it. It was fairly true to the original Naughty Dog trilogy. I think the only problem was the levels were a bit too long.
Yeah.
If that so like the difficulty, the sort of ramp up in difficulty with each level was on par with the Naughty Dog games, but the only thing is with the Naughty Dog ones, once you got to that very difficult part, you were only like 30 seconds away from the end of the level, whereas with Crash 4 you get past the difficult part and then you find out you're like halfway through the level, so if you die and have to restart the level, it's like, I could do all that again.
Yeah.
And like doing the time trial, which obviously makes doing the time trials and like the gems and getting all the crates and that a bit of a chore at times in the later levels, but I still enjoyed it. A good old Toys for Bob, the modern platformer kings.
Dear me. But yeah, so I'm really intrigued in that. I won't say Halo will go into my Game of the Year potentials. Mainly because I don't usually put, and this goes for any first-person shooter, whether or not that has a campaign or not. That goes for Gears of War. That goes for anything like that. I don't put them games in line for that personally. But also I don't know. It has a lot in terms of its story. It will have a lot to do to keep up with some of the story. Like for instance, Psychonauts. Like the story in that game itself, if people have played it all the way through, is actually really quite intricate, and there's a lot to it. And I think to kind of be on par with something that is as intricate as that and kind of have the same impact, it would be fairly difficult. I could name an absolute abundance of multiplayer games as well that could squeeze into the top kind of played games across that I've played over 2021, but again, I'm not going to include them because I mean, even playing Splitgate, like I've had so much fun playing Splitgate, with General C and I think Pat and Marion.
That was a right laugh.
It's just insane. But that also feels like Halo meets Portal. So it's absolutely brilliant. If I was to do another side section for Game of the Years for multiplayer, then yeah, Halo would be in there, no doubt. But I don't know whether or not the campaign's going to live up to it, and that's why it's a big if. I don't see it squeezing into my top 3. I hope it does. I hope it proves us wrong. I really want the campaign to be amazing. But it's going to have to do a lot to get in there.
Yep. Fully agree with you on that, Dutch.
Yep. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up our Game of the Year contenders so far for 2021. One thing I will add, Shaun, I know you play on PlayStation as well. Is there anything that could be on the PlayStation side that could squeeze into your, because it doesn't have to be Xbox, of course. Anything that could be on the PlayStation side that could potentially squeeze into your top games. Would Ratchet fall into there? Or did Ratchet not hit the
No,
heights?
Ratchet could definitely squeeze in there. I think it's just like you're saying, after playing Psychonauts 2, it's as good as a game Ratchet is. Just every aspect of Psychonauts 2 like raised it above everything I've played this year. One game that I got excited about when I first heard about it, and then it sort of dropped off radar, and I completely forgot that it's coming out. I think this month. Is it Kenna?
Yes, Kena Bridge of Spirits. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, that has potential to be up there for me, but again, it completely fell off the radar for me for a little while, and then it was literally last week I was like, oh, that comes out soon.
Yeah.
So,
That reminds me of Pikmin.
Yes, it does, yeah. Gives Pikmin vibes. I really like the art style on it. I really hope it's as good as it looks. I really want, I'm really championing the indies at the moment as well, and some of the work these indies are putting out at the moment is just absolutely phenomenal. And I really want Kena Bridge of Spirits to, I don't even know whether or not that's actually how you pronounce it, or whether or not it's Kenna or whatever. So apologies to the devs if any of you end up seeing this at some point and just shouting at the screen saying you're just pronouncing it wrong. But the game looks great. It certainly looks intriguing. I don't have a clue what the story's about yet, so when I pick it up, it'll be completely fresh to me. I haven't done enough investigation on it from a story perspective to find out what it's about either. But it looks like a very interesting game. It looks beautiful, well animated. The characters look intriguing, but yes, it's got a very old school Pikmin-y vibe mixed in with a platformer, so see how that works out. Anything else that's kind of sticking in your mind, Shaun, not on the PlayStation side? Do you want to say Deathloop?
That's on the PlayStation side. It's kind of, I haven't really been that excited for Deathloop, I must admit. It's just not, it's not the sort of game that I would normally go for as it is, but I'm certainly intrigued after seeing all the reviews that it's got. So I'll probably watch some gameplay and then have to decide if I've got time between other releases this year to pick it up.
Yeah, from what I've heard, it's as if you love Dishonored, then you'll love this. If you didn't like Dishonored, you'll not like it.
Yeah, I think Dishonored was all right. Like, I played it, completed the first one, didn't complete the second one, and I liked it, but I didn't. I was easily distracted from it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, if something else would come up, I'd be like, oh.
Yeah. Just straight on anything else, yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't hate Dishonored, but it wasn't up there in my top games list. So I imagine Deathloop will probably be the same. Like, I'll pick it up at some point, but I'm not in a rush to play it just because it's not my sort of game.
Well, if you're not in a rush, just wait till next year and you don't have to pick it up.
I know, that is probably what I'll do, to be honest.
Yeah. Like I say, and that's nothing against Arcane, because of course they make some really good games. They're an absolutely amazing developer. It's just, again, everyone's got their tastes, and for me, Deathloop as well. And I've said this even when it was, regardless whether or not it comes to Game Pass, it's not a game I would immediately go out and purchase, because the whole, yes, it's a whole kind of, not mystery, it's like a detective game where you can loop time and things like that. And I mean, it looks alright, but it's not something I would ever purchase myself personally. Like, I wouldn't pre-order something like that, or go out and specifically spend money on it. Like, the only thing that it takes a lot for me to actually physically pre-order something or purchase something. I went back and purchased Psychonauts after playing it, because I thought, I want to have this game. Like, this is such a really good game. Same applies for Forza Horizon. I always, without shadow of doubt, I always purchase Forza Horizon Ultimate Edition. I want everything. I want the season passes. I want all the cars. You give me it, I will take it. Like, I love Forza Horizon. Same with Flight Sim. I've purchased that. Like, if there's a game that I really want, I will buy it. But it has to justify itself. On PlayStation, you've got to be far more choosy on what you get, and it's not just a case of, right, well, I'll just try something, because you can't just try something on PlayStation. There is no option to just try something. If you buy it and you hate it, you're stuck with it.
And you also spent the extra $10.
Yeah, that's the one of the best things about Game Pass is the barrier of entry is just gone.
Yeah.
So there's so many times where there has been a game on Game Pass that I've enjoyed that I've ended up buying. Probably one of the most recent ones was 2 Point Hospital. I ended up buying that and all the expansions for it. So without Game Pass, I probably never would have bought
Even
it,
considered
sort of thing, to try and fly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I did the same actually when Minecraft Dungeons came out. Like, I loved that game. Then when the season pass came out very recently, with all of the different expansions and all the different kind of worlds, because they've really added a lot of content to that. I purchased the expansions on the premise of I will jump back into that game because I really enjoyed it. But I also want to kind of support them because I love that world. I love what they did with Minecraft Dungeons as like a Diablo light game. But it was also really fun with friends, but also the kind of just the work they put into that game. Really enjoyed it, and of course, just supporting it when you've got it. But it's like you mentioned, the barrier of entry on Xbox is much easier because if it's in Game Pass, you can try it. If you want to keep it, you can buy it, and that is literally exactly what I do, unless it's third party. In which case, then like with Battlefield, I wasn't quite sure whether or not I wanted to jump on that, but then I started playing Battlefield 5 again a bit more with the lads, and I was like, you know what it is, I'm going to have to buy this new Battlefield. I'm going to have to. I had so much fun playing that, and on Call of Duty, I tend to find that I have okay fun playing in like versus if it's like team deathmatch. But anything outside of that, unless it's custom lobby, like I hate online and I hate Warzone. I thought Warzone was just terrible. Hated that with a passion. Like I played a couple of rounds of it and I just thought, no, this is terrible. Like I just don't like this. And then compare it to, like I say, Battlefield. Just love the online. Like it's just so much more intense. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm looking forward to Kena. I really want to hope that they do well. It's unfortunate that a lot of their games are pushed back to next year now as well. Otherwise, they might have had more in my list of potentials to squeeze out. But next year is going to be quite insane, and we're going to get to that topic very shortly. But the next topic is, speaking about Sony, and that is our thoughts on the Sony showcase. And if you haven't watched the whole showcase, at least the games that come off the back of that particular showcase, I'm going to bring up a list of games announced now for the PlayStation Showcase, PS Showcase 2021. Right, let's reload that. So every game announced at the showcase. Okay, so this is some of them we already knew beforehand, and some of them we weren't privy to. Let's go into it. So, number 12 was Cheer. Comes to PlayStation instead of Google Stadia. That was that kind of animated game. It was the only real indie at the showcase. You might have remembered it. It kind of stuck out in the middle of the showcase as being something pretty different. Certainly wasn't kind of the AAA stuff that they were shown before that, but it was certainly nice looking. But it was originally slated to come to Google Stadia, and of course has now switched over and is coming to PlayStation instead. Of course, we all know why. Google Stadia has had a massive downfall in both users and no longer has any studios. Next up was the Alan Wake Remastered trailer. Following that was Tiny Tina's Wonderland, obviously the Borderlands side project. After that was Ghostwire Tokyo. Introducing a new character. Project Eve by the developers of Bayonetta. Uncharted Lost Legacy of Thieves, which is Uncharted 4 and The Lost Legacy. Gran Turismo 7 gets a release date. Forspoken, new gameplay trailer, and kind of unveiling a little bit more of the story. Spider-Man 2 was announced, which allows you to choose between Peter Parker and Miles Morales, and also includes a villain that you're going to be going against in the game. God of War Ragnarok, Wolverine cinematic trailer, and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is being remade, and looks like published by PlayStation as well. That is so far mixed messaging on that final one, whether or not it is completely exclusive or timed exclusive. The studio said it is coming as a console launch exclusive to PlayStation, but PlayStation, as always, have said the opposite and have just said exclusively coming to PlayStation. I believe with it being Disney property, much like MLB, Disney will be wanting that on every platform. So they'll be pushing for that to be a timed exclusive at most. Especially with KOTOR being on the original Xbox, and obviously originally being a kind of an IP, an exclusive IP on Xbox originally. It's a flip-flopping IP. But with those games in mind, and obviously having watched some of the trailers for them, what are your thoughts so far? I'm going to go to Shaun first. Shaun, what are your thoughts on what was kind of shown off and announced? And I don't know whether or not you watched it live, but having even over the kind of following days seen some of the stuff that was shown off, what did you make of that showcase?
Well, I'll start by giving my score, and then I'll explain my reasons for the score. So I would give it probably between a 6.5 to 7. So I'll be nice and I'll say 7. And my reasons for the score is purely because I am judging the event, not the last 10 minutes. If I'm judging the last 10 minutes, I would probably give it a 9. But it started off with a very pretentious live action advert.
I forgot about
live action advert, which took up 10% of the showcase. Yeah. So you've got a 40-minute showcase, and it took up around 4 minutes. Then they moved on to KOTOR, which I wouldn't even say I'm low-key bitter about that. I'm high-key bitter about that. But I'm in the thing that I think it's probably going to be a 2-year exclusivity, much like is it Forsaken?
Forspoken.
Forspoken. As much as that way, I know people are using it. It says, developed for PlayStation, but they said that for Forspoken as well, and that's 2-year timed exclusivity. So I'm assuming it's going to be the same. And like you mentioned with MLB, it will just be a different publisher for both. Well, we'll see who the publisher are when it's released on PC. It'll be that publisher for Xbox. But I imagine that's going to be a 2-year thing, and depending on when that comes out, I know last week to ACG I said that there'd be no game that would make me get a PlayStation before my initial plans, but that might be the game that makes me get a PlayStation before my initial, because if it's 2 years, I'll end up buying it on both. I'll get it for the PlayStation and I'll get it for the Xbox, just because I'm a huge fan of the original 2.
Yeah.
And it's funny that Microsoft owns Obsidian now, who made the second one. But we won't go into that. Yeah. And then the rest of the show was very meh. There wasn't really anything that stood out.
Yeah.
From the third parties, it's like the Tiny Tina thing we had seen. There's GTA 5 coming out again for the third time.
Do we want to talk about how that didn't look any different to GTA 5 on previous gen consoles?
No, it's a waste of breath. We all know that it's just a big money grab.
And in terms of, we'll cover it very quickly before you continue. In terms of the enhanced gameplay, someone mentioned that and actually highlighted it. The enhanced gameplay refers specifically to certain vehicles in the game. It doesn't refer to anything to do with the actual game as a whole. It's referring to certain vehicles essentially feel better to drive.
So basically, they're charging a full game for an FPS boost.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a no. That's a big no from me.
Yeah, it's a massive no.
So yeah, they had that, and then the indie game, it didn't appeal to me. I don't know whether it's going to be good or bad, but it just looking at it didn't appeal to me. So that's a meh. And then they got into. I'm trying to think. Actually, what other games did they show? You did list them. Anyway, there weren't enough to make me.
Yeah, Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic, Wolverine, Spider-Man 2, God of War: Ragnarok, Forspoken, Gran Turismo 7.
Forspoken,
Uncharted.
Actually.
Yep.
I've still not made up my mind on that.
No.
I think it'll be one of those. I think we have to wait 2 years anyway, but I'll have to see what it's like when it's actually released. It's not something that immediately jumps out to me, but it's one of those games that could pleasantly surprise me.
Yeah.
So I'm open for my mind to be changed. But it was a big nothing apart from KOTOR until the last 10 minutes. And I was getting a bit bored. And then the last 10 minutes, Wolverine is a huge get. And ordinarily, I would be like, Wolverine games haven't been that great. The last 360 one was fairly decent, but it wasn't massive. But then knowing who's making it, then you kind of like, well, Insomniac have turned out to be an extremely good buy for Sony.
Steal of the century for them.
Yeah, absolutely. But you got the thing is, there's going to be a time where they're going to have to take a break. They can't keep going at this intensity.
100%.
But I
expect
expect it to be but I expect it to be a very, very good game, nonetheless. Even though it was only CGI, and apparently CGI don't really count for games. Spider-Man 2. I played the first Spider-Man. Well, I got halfway through it until they took it off PS Now.
Yeah.
PS Now, because it was only in there for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Which was disappointing. It was an okay game. I wasn't kind of hugely enamored by it. It suffered from the same thing all the other Spider-Man games suffer from. It's the repetitiveness.
Yeah,
of doing the same side missions again and again. The traversal was amazing. I loved just gliding around the city, but stopping crimes, finding this thing, finding that thing, it got boring very, very quick.
Yeah.
And then they did the whole, you get to a certain point and then the city gets dark and there's harder enemies, there's different factions appear, and nothing really new with that. I've seen that with Prototype 1 and 2 did a similar thing. But it's got Miles, so if you want to be Miles, that you can do that. I would have liked some co-op. I would have liked them to branch out and do co-op, but they kind of
that's a massive missed opportunity, that one.
Yeah,
Miles Morales, you could have easily done a co-op.
That's the vibes I got from the trailer, like they was trying to sell me a co-op game.
And then I would have been like, oh yeah, cool, that's good. Something to play co-op with like a friend on PlayStation. And then they're just like, no, this is just choose one or the other. Like, oh.
Yeah, I think they should have taken a risk. I think they should have taken a risk. They're a good enough studio. You had co-op in Sunset Overdrive, so you know that they have the ability, the understanding, the talent to do a co-op.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. Maybe it's because they have to get it out in 2 years, and maybe co-op might have taken them longer than that.
Yeah.
Because it isn't just simply of just adding an extra character. So maybe it was just that. Maybe it's more hassle than it's worth. I'm sure they would have been able to solve it, but it might have taken more time. What was after that? GT. I'm not bothered about. I'm not bothered about that. And then God of War. God of War was a funny one because I was a little bit disappointed. Not to say that I thought it was rubbish or anything. It's more of a kind of a backhanded compliment because
it's
when
the
you
same
saw
with me,
what
it's the same with me.
When you saw what they did and what could be shown on a base PlayStation 4, the 2018 God of War, I kind of expected more from the next gen.
Yeah,
it still looks really good. It still looks nice. it's it looks like it's going to be a fun game. The visually, it looks really, really good. It was just I expected a little bit more just being on PlayStation 5. I just expected to have that next step visually.
Yes.
And I was a little bit disappointed by that. But again, it's still going to be an excellent game. It just looked more like a 0.5, which from what I've heard that's kind of what it is that it was supposed to be DLC, and then their DLC got so big they were like, let's just make it's going to be a new game, which I'm completely fine by that. I don't consider that as them selling you DLC. There's so much more to it now, but the origins of it was a DLC, and probably a DLC for PS4.
Yeah.
I kind of think the biggest thing.
Go on before I jump.
I think the biggest thing with God of War, it's kind of a letdown, is the fact that Cory Barlog isn't like the head director of that game.
Yeah, that's interesting. That.
Yeah, he's working on something else, so I'm intrigued to see what he is working on.
I'm hoping that like in some way, shape, or form he is at least overseeing it. He's coming in to check on to make sure the vision is being fulfilled. Because
I kind of hope it's he's mentoring that guy.
Yeah, because you all know how hard he fought for God of War to be how it was.
Yeah,
like he had to put Atreus in that game multiple times because they kept taking him out because they didn't want it in there, and he fought like hell to get that stuff in that game.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, 2018 was my game of the year at the time, but seeing the unveiling of this one, I was expecting to be far more hyped for it than I was. Like when I seen it, like you say, it obviously feels like a 0.5, but at the same, but when I was also when I was in God of War 2018, I also felt that at that point that was a missed opportunity because it felt like they were also intentionally pushing DLC when you were playing that, because of course when you go to the realm room option where you kind of spin it round and choose which realm you want to go to, the vast majority of them were locked out. You couldn't go there. You couldn't go to these different worlds. And I was like, well, that's obvious that they're going to be pushing this in like the next one. But
yeah.
Why show that off in that game? It felt weird.
Yeah, and that's what it felt like when seeing this. I just felt like, well, it's clearly just the tail end of what was 2018. It's not a bad thing because I love 2018, but it didn't give me the same whoa factor that I had with 2018. I don't know, and I really hope the story it lives up to it as well.
Yeah, I kind of going into it, I was expecting something that you'd look at and go, "Oh, Hellblade has a contender now."
Yeah.
And it didn't have that. But again, that's not to say it's going to be a bad game. That is not, that's not thinking in the game.
Like I've been saying to a lot of people as well, like you said as well, Shaun, quite obviously, it's testament to PlayStation Studios that they've got their games looking so brilliant on last-gen hardware that they have to do something substantially more to make it look to do so much better on PlayStation 5 to be able to stand out. Because as it stands, like, that doesn't look substantially better than what you get on a PlayStation 4. Like, they did such a tremendous job putting them games, like, making them games look so good on last-gen hardware that they really need to push the boat out on next-gen to make it look anything, like, substantially better. And that was exactly my thing. I'm pretty much online with you, Shaun, for that one with God of War.
Like,
it's the fact that
like I said, it's a backhanded compliment.
Yeah,
that you know what they can do. So when you kind of saw that, you're going, "That looks amazing. That looks really, really good." But it looks like a PS Pro game that will probably be 4K 60, or maybe not 4K 60, but at least 60. I expect it to run better than 2018 on the PS5. I expect at least the resolution to be better and the frame rate to be the same.
100%.
They said it's going to be significantly longer than the previous 2018 God of War as well, and that kind of worries me as well. That it's going to have a lot of like padding in it.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't have padding, because there was certain sections, and this is one of my drawbacks in the previous one. There were certain sections in there, and why I kind of marked it down myself was that there were certain very slow points in the game Like above ground, it was perfectly fine, but when you started getting into the little dungeons underground and things, it just dragged, and the story wasn't progressing, and the gameplay wasn't anywhere near as good, and it just didn't feel as entertaining as it was when you were above ground and things seemed to be progressing. It just took like a nosedive in like the pacing. And then that was like, what was it? Maybe a 24, 25 hour game, and this one's scheduled to be double that. It's like 40 hours, 40 something hours. So it depends on how good the story is. It really depends on how good the story is. Can they live up to the 2018 story? And that's another thing they're going to have to contend with, because I really love the story with that.
I hope they're at least following the script of what Cory Barlog's at least wrote.
Yeah. You would hope so. And I hope the game director is just literally making sure that the game, a bit like Joseph Staten, isn't getting involved with the story elements, but is certainly making the game just look, run, play tremendous, and just kind of refining it more than actually writing the scripts or anything like that, or writing the premise of the story or the direction of it. But we'll see. We shall see. It was definitely interesting to hear that Cory wasn't following on from his own success. That was a very intriguing one.
I mean, it looks like an amazing game, but I'm more excited to see what he's working on.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, could he even be working on the next God of War after this, like the next reimagining?
Well, apparently, yeah, because apparently God of War Ragnarok is the end of the Nordic section. And then they'll go on and move on to whatever next realm they go into. And of course, they've had Spartan, they've had that. Now they're going into Nordic. So this is the last in the Nordic. So what they're going to go into next? Which era they're going to
Roman
transform?
gods?
Roman Greek gods? No, Greek is Greek. No, Greek is
Egyptian.
Spartan, isn't it? Egyptian, yeah, that's right.
Egyptian.
Do you think it's coming out next year?
No.
I don't. I think it's a 2023.
Yep, I think it's 2023. I think so. I would hope so. Personally, it sounds silly to hope for a game to be further out, but I hope God of War's further out. I want them to take time to polish it a bit more. I want them to take time to enhance it a bit more, to make it worthwhile picking up a PlayStation 5 for. Because as it stands, neither Horizon nor God of War, as much as I love God of War, have given me a reason to invest in a PlayStation 5 next year. And I don't need to for Horizon either. And if I choose to pick up Gran Turismo, I don't have to for that either. So, so there's no reason to pick that up. And we'll kind of be touching on that in the next topic. But Shaun, any final thoughts on Sony's showcase before I go on to General and Shaun's impressions?
Yeah, they really need to stop with the pretentious bullshit at the start.
Yeah.
Whether it be a flipping thing alluding to them checkmating Xbox is what is most people took that as, or some flute player or something like that. Just stick to the games. I don't want to see any of that crap. Just show me the games.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the only thing I'll say before I move on to General and Shaun is that I expected more showing from their first party, and not as much time spending time with third party or timed exclusives.
Considering it's been like what 18 months since they had a big show.
show.
I know they had the one summer last year, but that it wasn't really a E3-esque, was it? And either, I mean, Xbox didn't really have an E3-esque last year either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So considering there's been such a gap, and they were saying, we've got 100 thingies planned and blah blah blah. I expected more. I expected to hear from other studios other than Insomniac.
Yeah, like I really feel sorry for Insomniac. They are carrying PlayStation Studios right now, like literally carrying them on their shoulders. By the time any other PlayStation first-party studio puts out a game, they probably would have released 5 games, which is just insane. Like, how can one studio in the space of 2-3 years put out 5-6 games, and then all the other studios release 1 game? And you're gonna have to seriously sit down with your studios at that point and say, right, lads, lasses, come on.
I mean, they must have
We've got one studio here, Insomniac. I mean, but Naughty Dog's massive. You know what I mean? Sony Santa Monica's 2 teams now as well, so they're massive. We know what they're working on, and that one's coming out soon. And of course, thankfully, they've got something else in the pipeline. But Naughty Dog, I mean, they've been before The Last of Us finished, and then they've had, of course, another section of the Uncharted team who haven't been working since that released years ago, Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy. They haven't been doing anything, and that's a massive studio. And so obviously they were just helping polish off The Last of Us 2 before that released, and then that's released, and we haven't heard anything from them since. So, as I was saying before, even months ago before this, my concern is that the studios that they've got haven't said anything about what they're doing or unveiling or talking about, and it's only Insomniac carrying them, and it's still the case. Like, outside of Sony Santa Monica and Horizon Forbidden West, like, nothing's been spoke about. No other studios come forward and actually offered them a lifeline. Like, what are you making? What are you doing? Compared to this is where Xbox is going to end up really pushing forward, because the sheer amount of studios, but they've also set out saying, listen, yes, a lot of these that we have in the works don't have release dates as yet, but this is our roadmap. You know what our studios are working on. You know what to expect in the coming years. We don't know anything from PlayStation outside of next year and the year after. Nothing at all. Which is slightly concerning for me. Expected more. But yeah, General, you joined me for the live viewing of the showcase. What did you make of it overall?
If I was to score it, I think I'm around about the same sort of place Shom is, 6.57. I think the biggest issue was the pacing. Everything that was like the big PlayStation stuff was right at the end. They should have padded that out throughout the show a bit more, and maybe this would have been a better show.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that was down to pacing. Most of the games we saw were either exclusives or timed exclusives, and all the big games at the end, the ones that are console sellers, are all so far out that I'm not going to buy a PS5 until those games come out in like 2 to 3 years. And with Wolverine, I'm saying that's a 2025 game, because when Spider-Man comes out, they're going to push a season pass. They're going to want as many people to buy that season pass, and that's probably going to be a 2024 thing. So I'm expecting Wolverine to be 2025.
Yeah. Oh, apparently Wolverine and Spider-Man 2 are both PS5 exclusive, so they're not going to be cross-gen.
I don't know about Spider-Man 2. I think that'll turn out to be a lie. Not because Insomniac, because Sony will be telling them to say that. I think Spider-Man 2 will be cross-gen. I think Wolverine will be next-gen. Only because of how far out it is.
I mean, we all know what Spider-Man's going to play like anyway. Everyone's going to be mainly getting it for the story.
Yeah.
The Spider-Man games are the best Spider-Man movies.
Yeah. What do you make of it then, Shom? Do you reckon it's going to be multi-generation?
I don't know. I have a feeling maybe 2023 might be the start where you see more next gen, or should I say current gen only. But it's hard to tell. They say so many crap, and it ends up lying. It's hard to tell. It wouldn't surprise me if they had them making 2 and then they decide which way they're going to go at a later date.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't they say they're going to at least bring some of their exclusives to cross-generation for the next 2 to 3 years? Well, there'll be 2 years left of that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's hard to think. And we know that, it's the same architecture, so it's not a massive thing to do. Unless it has something.
I think Spidey 2 will be developed for both, but released for one based on how well market sales pick up for consoles. If things pick up and you're starting to get more consoles in the hands of consumers, then I can see them just not scrapping the PS4 one, but just not needing to release it. And just saying, right, we've got enough users now on PlayStation 5 that we don't need to release this on PlayStation 4 anymore. That's essentially why they released Rise and God of War and Gran Turismo on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, is because they're not... Of course, and this is what people need to realise, these games have a base of development. They are built for cross-generational, and then they, from a marketing standpoint, are debating whether or not to put that on both platforms or just sell it as an exclusive to one platform for sales purposes. That's essentially been Sony's kind of method in this. And I firmly believe
can't
that...
see there being anything in Spider-Man 2 that warrants it being next gen only. You know,
I mean,
now they're going about Ratchet and Clank with the warping. You know, it needs the SSD, it needs this and that, it needs that.
No, it doesn't.
I can't see there anything in Spider-Man that needs it to be next gen and can't run on the PS4.
Mm-hmm.
If it can run on the PS4, it'll be there.
Well, most of their assets are done. It's just like expanding upon those assets.
Yeah.
I do think Spider-Man will come to PS4 at some point.
Yeah.
The Wolverine, I don't think will, because that's being built from the ground up. Unless...
Yeah, at least with that one, they're going to have to change something in it. They're going to have to do something new and different, because it can't. It's going to play roughly the same combat-wise as Spidey, but obviously you're going to be limited. You're not going to have the web slinging. You're not going to have the traversal. You're going to have different types of traversal with Wolverine. But combat overall is going to feel pretty similar in terms of kicking people and punching people and swiping people. Like Spidey punches and kicks and swings, and so there's going to be some kind of physical. It feels pretty familiar. But
I think Wolverine has to be a linear game, not an open world game.
Yeah.
Or at least hub world.
Yes.
Yeah. And like, let's just like swing back round to the opening of the PlayStation show. Jim Ryan is so awkward. He's like the cheesiest used car salesman ever. Can we just stop getting him in these shows? Yes. Herman Hulst is a way better, more passionate person at PlayStation. When he's talking about PlayStation, people listen. When Jim Ryan's talking about PlayStation, they zone out.
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't seem genuine when I hear Jim Ryan talk. It doesn't seem genuine. Like I'm not a shareholder. I don't want to be like, don't talk to us like I'm a shareholder. Like I'm someone trying to win, because that's what it comes across as. It comes across as a salesman. And like at these shows, you're trying to show me that sell me the games. I don't want to hear the sales spiel for these games. I want to like hear an enthusiastic person talking about the games that they're making. And you get that from Herman Hulst, because Herman was the head of a studio. You get that from Cory Barlog because he's the head of a studio. I want to hear them people talking about their games. I don't want to hear Jim Ryan. That's like getting Satya Nadella up on screen. Like, he's enthusiastic, but I wouldn't want him talking about games.
No, that's what I really like about Phil Spencer. Like, you can tell that man's a gamer.
You're too right, he is. Like, if you don't follow him already on Twitter or on any platform, he is consistently on the Xbox or on the Switch or playing XCloud when he's traveling around. He is always playing games.
I just like that Phil Spencer he comes across casual. He wears some form of gamer-related shirts, whether it be a Psychonauts shirt or a State of Decay shirt. But with Jim Ryan, you get a man in a shirt,
in a suit
and trousers, looking like he's about to try and sell me some car insurance.
Yeah. You don't want that Sony car insurance?
No.
Extended warranty on your TV? No?
Maybe if it cost an extra $10, but we all know PlayStation are going to charge a lot more than that.
Pinky of Legend said he would definitely sell you a Civic with an oil leak. But he did also say stuff Shaun said earlier on as well. Spidey 2 to open, God of War finish, and Wolverine... I guess that means in the middle. Spidey 2 to open, God of War in the middle, and Wolverine to end would have been the perfect pacing. Yeah, pretty much agree. I think having shown Insomniac, both of Insomniac's project back to back was a bit of a strange one. It was kind of just like, oh yeah, here you go, just shove it in there. It kind of felt that Spidey was more of a, I suppose we have to show the next Spidey, and then right, but here's the real surprise though, Wolverine.
I mean, like that Forspoken, that's supposed to be like a 2-year a timed exclusive, right?
Yeah.
What's the point? Buy that game outright, let it be an exclusive forever, as long as possible.
Yeah, 2-year time seems weird.
It is. It's very strange.
The same with like if this Star Wars game. I've never played the originals, but if that's going to be a 2-year exclusive, you might as well have just bought the entire exclusivity to that.
Yeah,
that could be a case of Disney saying no.
Because most people are not going to wait those 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's what they're hoping. They're kind of at this point saying, you know what it is, we can't get the full exclusivity to it, so we may as well make that exclusivity so bloody long that people are just going to be going, you know what, if I want this game, I'll have to buy a PlayStation to get it, because I'm not waiting 2 years to pick it up on Xbox. And I think that's kind of their thinking. Right, okay, we're not going to get this thing full time, so we may as well just make this. Like Final Fantasy VII Remake, that is still a timed exclusive, but because of Intergrade, they've ended up pushing that out furthermore. So now the exclusivity finishes in December. And I can see them pushing something else out to extend it further, to the point where it's just pointless. And if you don't have a PlayStation, you're never going to play Final Fantasy Remake.
It's going to be a very small amount of people that are going to be interested in buying a game that's been a 2-year timed exclusive when it comes to Xbox.
Just the amount of money they must just pay for that. I mean, I wonder what half the time, is it worth it? Is it worth it in sales for them?
I've forgotten which podcast I heard this on, but there was one person saying, you know, I can't remember where it was, but it was the fact that they're spending, like Xbox, for instance, paid something like 100 million for the timed exclusivity for Tomb Raider at the time before it went on to PlayStation. And I think that you're talking about PlayStation spending hundreds of millions of pounds on timed exclusivities for some of these games. And this is why Xbox have changed their approach and started just purchasing the studios anyway, because they're thinking, you know what it is? It's with the amount of money we're wasting on timed exclusives, we could just be getting these studios in and actually making exclusives for us permanently. Like, what is the point?
I know, I mean,
hand over fist wasting this money.
If you look at the 100 million for Tomb Raider, that's like almost a third of what PlayStation paid for Insomniac.
Yeah,
that's an insane amount of money. Now, I wonder how much Sony pay, because I think they might probably pay a little bit less just because of market share, so they can kind of say, well, we got this number of eyes. But as a whole, it can't be the amount. It's the amount that they do. Like they were saying, they've got 30 odd games to be announced, and there'll be a lot of bought timed exclusivity. They'll be forking out a fortune, and it's like, really is paying however amount of millions for Star Wars really going to be taking that amount from Xbox to them to make it worth the while? And that's because I don't care what people say. For me, KOTOR I will always associate KOTOR with Xbox.
Yeah.
Because of the originals.
Yeah. And it's still there. If anybody wants to go and play KOTOR, it's on Gamepass. Go and play it. Yeah. If you want to play Knights of the Old Republic, it's on Gamepass. Go play it. It's there.
I'd play it again if it had achievements, but
yeah, exactly. That's
the only thing that's stopping me. Yeah.
That's what stopped me playing Psychonauts 1. I was like, it doesn't have achievements. I've been spoiled.
I mean, we've got the Indiana Jones game, but wasn't there another Lucasfilm title that was supposed to be an Xbox exclusive, but we don't know what it is yet?
Is that not that I'm aware of? I've not heard anything.
Yeah, I can't say I've heard anything about another one.
Yeah, I think there is something in the works. I'm sure there's a Star Wars IP as well in the works that's meant to be exclusive, but
so the one a little while ago, everyone was saying it would be the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
it's the Sony insiders, isn't it?
Yeah,
like wasn't Blue Point supposed to be announced at this show?
Yeah, that didn't. I mean, Blue Point. Obviously, we know Blue Point came out and said, "No, we're very much indie."
Oh, I'd love
really
Xbox to buy
strange.
Bluepoint. I would
Like-
love them to buy Bluepoint now, just for a power play.
Yeah, that would be funny. But Shaun, your thoughts on the Sony showcase? What did you see? Is there anything there that made you think, if you didn't already have a PlayStation 5, I need a PlayStation 5?
Not particularly. I don't know if it was just that there wasn't that much variety games-wise, or if it was just that most of the games weren't my sort of thing. But the two games I was most excited about, apart from Cheer, which I do actually really like the look of. It looks like it'd be quite a nice, relaxing game where you sort of explore everywhere. The other two were remasters, Alan Wake and KOTOR.
Yeah.
I love Alan Wake. I love Remedy games.
I wasn't
And
impressed with
obviously
that.
You know
KOTOR's
what it is?
KOTOR.
No, Alan Wake just did not look. That did not look good enough for a remaster. Like, and sorry to the developers, but that did not look good enough to me. That looked like, what was it? That looked like Prince of Persia level of disappointment to me.
Yeah, again, I was expecting so much more with the tech that we have now.
Yeah, I mean, look at what they're doing with Dead Space. Like, Dead Space looks insane.
Exactly, yeah. And that will be out on last gen.
Yeah. And then
That's
you've got
that's
Alan
the
Wake.
kind of level. Well, that just saved me £25 basically, because I was like, oh, I'll give that a go, and then I saw that and I was like, I'll just play the original. I own the original.
Yep.
I'm just over remasters at this point.
Yeah.
I
same.
think if they do a Dead Space-esque,
Full
I'm more
remake.
inclined. Yeah, if it's just a case of we're just making it so it's 60 frames, 1080p or 1440 or 4K or whatever they want to do, I'm not interested.
Yeah. Yeah, selling remasters is a no-go. I'm sorry, but when you've got the capabilities like Xbox do, where they can give you these enhancements for free by means of system upgrade, so that auto res boost, auto FPS boost, auto HDR, quick resume, all that stuff automatically enhances to the game where it feels like a remaster anyway. We've seen that with auto HDR across many titles where you play it and you're like, Jesus, what? This makes it look so much better than it did originally. And then that's the difference. Like, remasters now, I hate them. I hate them with a passion, because it just feels like they've just tacked on something. Whereas a full remake, like they're doing with Dead Space, is right. We've got the core of the game, but we're going to go through every aspect of the game itself and completely rework it graphically from the top to bottom. We're going to make sure that the game feels a little bit smoother, plays better. It just overall, it looks like a next step in where that game should be. But remasters just need to die a death, a horrible, painful death, off a cliff, with a weight.
We see
strapped
it
around
at
their
the
ankles.
start of every generation now, though. Like, it'll begin, and they're like, "Oh, you can replay this again. It's been remastered. Spend another $60 or $70."
Yeah,
in PlayStation's case.
yeah. I mean, Shaun, carry on, brother. What else did you think? Oh, you're muted, but not muted. I don't know what's happened there. No, still no sound. What's going
Yeah,
on?
still muted.
How about now?
Hey, there we go.
Switched my headset for some reason. Yeah, the only, it doesn't affect me, but I guess it's kind of good news, is the that Uncharted Collection. So Uncharted's coming to PC, so PC players can play Uncharted.
But did you know it's only 4? Only Uncharted
Only 4
and
and
Lost Legacy.
Yeah, and the expansion, half a game one. Yeah, and the Wolverine and Spider-Man 2, I'm looking forward to. Although I'm not an overly huge Marvel superhero fan, so I'm hoping Insomniac doesn't kind of become known as the Marvel studio sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I hope they still, in between Marvel games, get to do their own IPs and that, because, like I said, Ratchet and Clank and Sunset Overdrive and that have all been phenomenal games.
Yeah, I want them to put Ratchet to bed for a bit as well.
I think with that
Yeah.
announcement, you can probably guess that they put that to bed for at least now, for a good few years.
Yeah, I think Ratchet's going to end up being one of those games where whenever they need to do something, so like if a new console comes out, they'll be like, oh, Ratchet will show off some stuff with that.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Knack was for the PS4, where he was literally just there to show how many different particles and objects they could have on the screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, there wasn't really like God of War looks good fun, but it's I think too far away with the amount of games that are coming out soon for me to start getting properly excited for.
Yeah.
And then other than that, I was like, that was a showcase.
Yeah.
Guess it was good, but it wasn't. I didn't walk away amazed by most of the stuff.
What would you rate it? The showcase entirely.
Ooh, I'll go 6.
Yeah.
I'll say that's a fair number.
It is, and like I think a lot of people say as well, it's when we're judging a showcase, it's not just by the titles. You've got to judge it by everything to do with the showcase, the pacing, the game shown, what it was shown, when it was shown, and the substance of it. And to me, they nearly lost me in that showcase for the first 33 minutes plus 34 minutes of absolute nothingness. Like GTA Remaster, Alan Wake, which we already knew was coming out, KOTOR, which was the only surprise at the beginning, Forspoken a little bit, that looked interesting, but again, we already knew about it. I was so glad that they didn't put Horizon Forbidden West in there again. I was actually really glad we didn't see more Deathloop. That's something that I was fully expecting them to do. Let's just put this in as well. We know they're coming out like pretty much straight away, and we know we've already spoken about them countless times and showed deep dives and things, but we'll put it in anyway. But it nearly just lost me in the first 30
Horizon
minutes.
again, though.
Kind of. Not much.
But that was like, I'm glad they kept those two parts separate, the talking parts. That was a good thing to do.
Yeah.
That's the thing I give them props for.
Yeah, I've got to agree with that. The props that I give it is that they kept the developer interviews till the end of the show.
Yeah, that was the other kind of like, that's the show. If you want to stay and listen to stuff, then here you go, 10 seconds. But yeah, like I don't mind a quick word, like from maybe like with the Forza Horizon.
Yeah,
but I think even that could have been shorter. That could have been probably put until a show at the end, rather than the main body. And what Xbox need to do, they need to start saying that they've got other stuff planned that week. You know, tomorrow we'll show more Halo. Next week or in a couple of days we'll have this, we'll have that, rather than letting speculation run rampant.
Yeah,
that needs to just needs to stop. But again, like you were saying, I hate it when people there's one game and they're like, right, it beat the other conference. They showed this one game, but the rest of the conference was completely boring, really badly paced.
Yeah.
But then they say, "Oh, there's one game that I was really looking forward to, or this was a complete surprise." They won E3. It's just like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, you have to judge it for its entirety, not just one thing. But yeah, I've got to agree. Now I'll go back. My score was 6.5, 6 to 6.5, and that was mainly down to the show overall. Again, like I said, if I judged it sheerly on the last 8 minutes, not 10, 8 minutes of only PlayStation titles, then it would have probably been somewhere like 8, because there was some really good titles shown off in the last few minutes. But the remaining 34 minutes or whatever it was just dull. It was so dull. The pacing was off.
Ooh.
Like, I didn't want the chit chat at the beginning. Having a Sony exec just stand there, the suit. Like, that guy really grinds me gears. That weird thing at the very, very start that you say it was 4 minutes long. I didn't know what the hell was going on or what it was advertising. I was like, what?
People were trying to read into some subliminal message in there, like, PlayStation are playing chess.
Like, I remember seeing it when the show started, and I was like, what the hell is this?
It's what I mean. It's just so pretentious, and to me, it's a lack of confidence in their show, because I see it as them saying, right, well, we've got to have a minimum time, right? Let's say 40 minutes. 30 minutes is too short. 40 minutes, and then they have like almost half of that extra 10 minutes on something completely pretentious that it just doesn't need to be there. Adds nothing to the show.
Yeah. Well, you've got to think, if you've got 4 minutes for that intro video thing. You've got a further 2 minutes for Jim Ryan doing his little speech. So that you've got 6 minutes off straight away. So you've got 32 minutes left of your show. Or 34 minutes, sorry. 30, roughly up until the tail end of the show, with like 7-8 minutes left to go. You've seen timed exclusives.
Little chat.
Yeah, Herman Hulst as well.
But that
Boil
10
all
minutes
that
is
down.
almost taken up.
Yeah. So you've got half an hour's worth of showcase. The vast majority.
Did you see the tweet from, I think it's Tully Auckland?
Yeah.
Is the senior game designer behind KOTOR. Did you see what it was a couple of days old now, I've only just seen it.
No.
Regarding everything. It says, lots of love and support from you all and lots of questioning, echoing Ryan Treadwell. Yes, it is a full remake. Yes, timed exclusivity for PS5 and PC.
Yes,
So there
timed.
is no... It's definitely timed.
They give some clarification on how long the timed exclusivity is going to be.
Yeah, they can never mention that. They can never mention that, the actual length of that. Usually it comes...
I think it'll be 2 years.
Yeah. I don't know whether or not it'll be as long as 2 years, you know.
I think if they're publishing it, it'll be 2 years. If they're publishing it on... I think the publishing thing for me is more than... Because they don't normally do that for a 1 year timed exclusivity. So I think it's 2 years. But the good news as well, they've also said that the voice actress for Bastilla is the same person. They're reprising the role.
Yeah, that's good. So the same characters. I think they mentioned that throughout. I think when I remember them talking about it afterwards, they were saying we're getting pretty much everyone back that was within the original to try and make it as authentic as possible to the original KOTOR.
I hope the story's not messed with too much. Now I understand there will be some variations here and there, but I hope they haven't completely changed the core story, because then it's not KOTOR. It's not it's a completely different game.
I've got a question
Final
for
Fantasy
you,
remake.
Oh god, yeah. that's a sore subject.
It's mostly the same until certain points.
That was going to be my question for Shaun. I was going to say, do you think the gameplay is going to be at its core the same, or do you think they're going to change the gameplay entirely?
I think they're going to change the gameplay entirely. I think people don't have the patience, like mainstream, for the turn-based anymore. And it's a Star Wars, so it's the mainstream they're going after. So I think they'll do a similar thing that they did with Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I think it could end up playing a lot like Fallen Order.
Possibly, maybe is not as... I know that it's a term I hate, but Souls-like light.
Yeah.
But I hope it's not as kind of like that, because again, it's supposed to be for... Mind you, the Fallen Order was supposed to be mainstream as well, because it's Star Wars. So possibly.
I really like Fallen Order, so I mean, I wouldn't mind that.
I hope it's not as arcadey as like the Unleashed, which I'd love another Unleashed, to be fair. I really enjoyed the Unleashed. But I hope it's not as arcadey as that. I hope there is a bit more meat to it, rather than just jumping and button bashing. Oh, that was such a wasted opportunity. When they first announced Unleashed, I thought you'd be able to pull everything and destroy everything with the Force and stuff, and it was really limited. But it's still a good game.
Oh, yeah, still a good game. There's one thing I am disappointed that we didn't see, though.
Yep, go on.
The Last of Us remake. I was kind of expecting them to at least
The Last of Us remake, remaster, part 5, extended edition.
As much as I don't want it to happen,
yeah, it is a thing.
I know I'm going to buy it anyway, because The Last of Us 1 is a bloody masterpiece, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. I don't think I'd buy it again.
I mean, if for instance, and this would probably make me get a remake of The Last of Us 1, and the reason I didn't like it as much as most people were clamoring over that was because I picked it up so late on afterwards. It felt so janky, and like gameplay felt old. Like by the time I actually got into it and played it after people had been ranting about it for years, I was like, right, okay, I'll pick it up. So I purchased it, got the PlayStation 4 Pro, played it, and I was like, it just feels so janky. Like this doesn't feel like a current generation game that feels like a last generation game. And Last of Us 2 fixed that. Like Last of Us 2 felt so much better, like so much more fluid. And if they made The Last of Us 1 remake with the same quality of character animations and how it feels like Last of Us 2, then that would make me pick up the remake to be able to go through and enjoy Last of Us 1. because I
So I'm
specifically didn't
wondering.
enjoy Last of Us 1 because of the way it felt as opposed to the story. I would have enjoyed it so much more if it felt better to play.
I'm kind of wondering, are they doing this remake, which is like super early to even be a game that is remade? I'm wondering if they're doing it because the HBO TV series, and they want to make the character models at least resemble closer to who's playing the characters in the HBO series.
I can already imagine the reactions if they if they drastically change the looks of characters.
Oh dear God, I hope not.
Stay off the internet that day.
Because like I think they'll at least make those characters look like who they're supposed to be. It just don't make sense why they would even remake it otherwise.
But then they'd have to change the characters for Last of Us 2.
Yeah,
the match.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if
Maybe
they
charge
did.
you $5 to do that.
DLC.
I mean, they added Dave
Director's
Bautista into Gears of War 5.
Director's cut.
I wouldn't be surprised.
You can choose between the Netflix version and the and the original version.
To be honest with you, I'd be down for companies doing that as long as they're not charging you for it. The same with I've heard rumors. I don't know how true it is with The Witcher that they'll be getting Henry Cavill's. Is it Cavill? Anyway, his character model in The Witcher 3.
That is true.
I can see that happening.
At least making it look like a little bit more like Henry Cavill.
Yeah, you can choose. Obviously, they're not kind of like completely
forcing you to be
remove. Yeah. But I'd be down. I don't mind companies doing that as long as it's an option, just to have a bit of fun. At the end of the day, it's gaming. It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah, exactly. Any final thoughts, Shaun, before we wrap up this this topic?
No, not really. There just wasn't much that took my interest, apart from playing games that I've played already, but playing them again. And then the game Chia, which looks quite interesting. I'm gonna keep my eye on that.
Yeah, like I say, it looks interesting. It was out of place. It was very out of
Oh
place.
yeah.
Like, it was literally the only indie in the whole show.
Yeah, it was, and
I was like, "What? Okay, this is."
like I said, with the variety, the like lack of variety as well. I think visually, it was sort of all these
ultra
less colourful games, and then suddenly that popping on the screen.
Yeah. Like, what the hell?
Oh, did you? I saw some reaction videos for that, and it was funny. Like just the hardcore.
Yeah, the hardcore, like
getting
ultra realistic
mental.
only games. Everything else is shit type of gamer.
Yeah, just having an absolute mental breakdown. It's
Yeah,
like
I've
each
seen.
time a game was announced, like even Borderlands, like, oh, but seriously, and when that came on, you just saw them just the rage in their faces.
Yeah, just like I say, I feel sorry for the devs because that was so out of they put them so out of place in that show. So they'll just sandwich in between like every AAA game known to man.
It was just asking for criticism.
Yeah.
They would have been better off on the previous showcase a little while ago, where it was mostly indie games.
Yeah.
With
100%.
yeah.
That's what I like
they
about
could
when
have had
Xbox does their events. They have their little indie section.
Oh, they could have had like a 50-minute event and had a couple of indie games in there. Just to balance it out,
Squeeze
rather
a few
than
more
just have
show a little bit more of Kena before it releases.
Yeah, rather than just have this one indie game that was just like so far out of sync with the rest of the style of games they were showing. You're like, okay, it's going to get backlash. It doesn't matter how good the game is or isn't. People are going to look at that and go, what?
Yeah. Like, you've just showed us Knights of the Old Republic like remake from scratch. You've showed us like Alan Wake getting a remaster. You've showed us like Spidey. You've showed us all of this stuff, and what is this? It's like doing the Microsoft showcase and then putting Super Lucky's Tale in there. Like,
yeah, exactly.
What?
Oh, by the way, Battlefield's officially been
delayed
to the 19th of November, so not a massive delay.
Oh, still this year. Still this year.
Yeah.
Oh, hallelujah. You heard it here, people.
Can they
Thanks
delay
to
the
Shaun,
price hike as
Shomany's
well?
investigative skills. Battlefield has been delayed, but it's still 2021. Oh, sigh of relief. Hopefully Call of Duty gets delayed till the end of time. And then we won't have to play that or see it again.
I just feel like that game's going to launch so broken.
Yeah. Well, the
More than
rumor
likely.
was before it was showing off, and obviously why it took so long to show off in the first place was because they had some serious issues with it. And the people that have played Call of Duty in the beta on PlayStation have said it doesn't feel good at all. Like, it doesn't play well. Like, it's,
My dad plays Black Ops Cold War, and watching him play that, the game is so broken, and he complains about how broken it is. So that game's broken, and they've barely fixed it. What's this game going to look like?
yeah.
It's like they're not even trying anymore, isn't it?
No, it's. I've seen the gameplay reveal for that. I think the last one was it the Gamescom PlayStation E segment, whatever they did for it. And that's
Yeah,
just,
they had the campaign sort of.
it
thingy.
just didn't look. Again, they went down the Battlefield 1 route where they started doing that whole segmented campaign thing where they were like, oh, we'll have a look at this character, and then you're going to play as this character, and then you're going to play as this character. I was like, it didn't work for Battlefield, so why do you think it's going to work for you? Like, it doesn't work. Stop this whole segmented thing. Like, the reason Call of Duty campaigns used to work was because you followed a team. Like, Modern Warfare originally worked because you followed a team. You followed Ghost and his team. Like, and all of these, like, great characters that you actually liked to go through. It worked because of those characters, and it worked because it was one set campaign that you played start to finish. Like, broken up campaign didn't work for Battlefield. It's not going to work for Call of Duty. It isn't. Because you play a little segment, you're like, okay, right, okay. And that was it. So the next one. So who we're playing as now? Right, okay. And then the next one, who we're playing as now? Right, okay. And they're all like
the only
two
game my dad really plays, so
little 1-2 hour segments, and you just don't get into it as well. But hey ho. We'll get into some more positive sections here. So this is, thankfully, over the remainder of this year and into next year, we've got an absolute abundance, and this is going to be the final topic of today, an absolute abundance of games still yet to come out across PlayStation and Xbox and possibly Nintendo. Not that I've been really paying attention to Nintendo because, you know, they do them. I'll start with this one. First of all, what games are you most looking forward to that's coming out over the next year? So the 2021-22 so far that have been announced and are pretty much bang on to be released. What are the top 5 games that you're looking forward to? I am actually really looking forward to Pokemon Arceus Legends or whatever it is. That game looks like the Pokemon I was promised when Switch originally came out. That was the Pokemon I expected them to make when Switch was originally announced. None of these like X and Y's and Suns and all this malark that was just looked like a top-down version of every other Pokemon game I've ever played. When I imagined a big open-world Pokemon on a console, the Legends is pretty much exactly what I expected from a Pokemon. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing that. Granted, it is historic, so it's going to play a little bit differently. So you're going back in time to where, like, when they first started catching Pokemon and all the Pokemon are free roaming and wild. Like actual wild, not like just set segments where they're just like roaming in specific grass areas, like around the map. Or specific cave areas, like they're actual wild Pokemon floating about, and they're only in certain regions, which is and have traits and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm also, of course, naturally Forza Horizon 5, Halo Infinite. I'm not particularly looking forward to Starfield because I can't get excited for something that I don't know what it is yet. So as much as that game is coming out tail end of next year, I still haven't got the foggiest of what to expect from that game or anything about that game, so I'll reserve judgment. Same applies to Redfall. Kind of know what it's meant to be, but still haven't got a foggiest idea as to what I'm expecting yet, fully. so I'll reserve judgment for that. Really hope that Stalker 2 is as great as it looks, because I'm really hyped for that. Kena Bridge of Spirits, really looking forward to playing that. Horizon, I'm very intrigued to see how they take the story for this, but again, they could go anywhere with Horizon. Obviously, it's a new land, it's a new area, so that'll be intriguing. Looking forward to seeing kind of how they've developed the game and kind of some of the new mechanics and how they play into things. I think everything else is left to open to interpretation. They're kind of my key standout ones: Horizon, Stalker 2, Forza Horizon, Halo Infinite, the new Pokemon. Yeah, that's pretty much my key ones that I'm looking forward to so far. Shaun, we'll start with you. Out of every game that you know is coming out over the next 12 plus months, up until the end of 22, what ones are catching your eye the most? What are you going for? I really, really want to play that.
I can't remember the name of one of them. It's the pixelated, the one that everybody thought was the last night, but isn't.
Replaced.
Something.
Replaced.
Yeah.
I forgot about that one.
Replaced. Somerville.
Yes, that looks intriguing.
Hellblade, obviously. Oh, I say it in the 12 months. That might not be in the 12 months, but that's something. Maybe I want to know more about that. Games Awards, I reckon. Stalker 2, like you said, and a massive one for me next year that I just am a little bit giddy to play is A Plague's Tale 2.
Oh, I completely forgot. That's next year as well, isn't it?
Yeah, next year.
Yeah.
Not confirmed
Jesus,
when though.
Well, it was
How did I
April.
miss that one out? This is the problem when there's so many games. Like, even in chat there, beast modes like Elden Ring's January. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me if they also announced that they acquired Asobo.
I would hope so. Like that seems like a in terms of levels of acquisition, that seems like an Insomniac level of acquisition. Like, you could probably pick them up at a relatively good price and get absolutely amazing work out of them. Plague Tale was amazing. The work on Flight Sim that they've done is second to none. I mean, Jesus wept. What they've managed to do with that game is phenomenal. Yeah, hopefully they do get Asobo. That's one of the ones that I would hope they do pick up, to be honest. But yeah, continue, Shaun.
That's all I could think of.
Yeah. They're the ones that really spring to mind.
For the next 12 months that I've seen, like you said, it's as much as I'm looking forward to some games, like the Contraband as well. It's just like I don't know enough about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see more. Is Contraband due out next year?
Is it next or is it year after? I don't know whether or not that's 20. I think it might be 23.
Not too sure.
It's 23.
When it would come out.
Okay. But yeah, it's just like there's a couple. There's a couple that I just want to see more of. We've only ever seen CGI for them, so I will probably end up playing and liking, but it's hard to see because you've got your idea what the game. I mean, even Contraband, you see like what Jez Corden and people like that have said, but it's like until you actually see it, you don't fully understand. You go, oh well.
From what I hope Contraband will be is more like an Uncharted co-op. Like with a heist and things like that. And from what it kind of came across to me, because they said it was an open world co-op game.
It reminded me of the old
more of
Mercenaries games.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking. That's what I was leaning towards, like a mercenary-esque type game, or maybe even like a mercenary cross the crew if there's any driving in it.
Yeah. Ooh. It's certainly intriguing, but I want to see more of it. I want to know more about it before I can put it firmly into my.
I want to know what the gameplay loop is.
Yeah. Like I say, same for Redfall. Like it certainly looked interesting, but I don't know anything about it, so I can't put it into an anticipated yet because I can't anticipate what I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, and again, another one mentions Scorn there.
Scorn. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's still due out this year, isn't it? Apparently.
So yeah, so Beast Mode's put their Forza, Halo, Gunk, Replaced, Somerville, Stalker 2, Redfall, Starfield, Dying Light 2, Plague Tale, Requiem, Deathloop, of course, next year for Xbox as well. Contraband is 2023, Scorn, Jesus wept, Elden Ring, Hellblade 2, probably 2023. I would say 23, 24 for Hellblade, depending on how much they manage to get done. A lot of their stuff is based. A lot of Hellblade's drawbacks have been specifically down to mocap. Like they were going really heavy on mocap for this game, like you've never seen it. But they use mocap for more than just one thing. Like they scan in literally everything for detail. And if you haven't seen,
didn't they recently?
Yeah, they're burning sinuous clothes to get different texture effects.
Didn't they just recently take photos of her eyes as well?
Yeah,
the detail in her eyes is going to be insane. Then if they're capturing photographs, high res photographs,
high res photograph of her eyeballs, just to make sure they've got her eyeballs down to the point. So yeah, I'm expecting big things from Hellblade, and I completely Ninja Theory's one of them developers now, where I've got full trust in them. So I'm very much anticipating Hellblade 2, and it probably will be, if not my most anticipated game going forwards. But at the same time, I want them to take as much time as they possibly need to get that game as great as they need it to be. Because they've got the full backing now. They don't have to be worrying about budgets like they did on Hellblade 1 or anything like that. So I think give them enough time, give them the freedom, and they'll produce an absolute masterpiece without a shadow of a doubt.
Do you think because of COVID and all these delays and stuff that this generation is going to be a long generation like the 360 was?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
I see it being another 8-year gen.
Do you think there's going to be a refresh? Do you think there's going to be a 1X-esque refresh, or do you think that the console's powerful enough to?
I don't. Yeah, I think there will be a revision. I think they won't revise the Series S. That's a good entry point. They'll revise the X and give a top tier like Ultimate X. But later on in the generation, I'll probably see that coming maybe 4 years down the line. A revision to kind of see out the tail end of the generation, the last couple of years. But I see it probably be maybe a 7-8 year gen again, 100%.
Would you expect the Xbox Series X to come out with a discless version?
So that's a tough.
They could use that to replace the S.
Yeah, I think if the S becomes a kind of a severe drawback later on in the generation, and they think, you know what it is, we can still release games for it, but I think we're gonna have to focus on the next gen, and specifically on the most powerful hardware that we've got, and severely limit back. Thankfully, they don't have to worry about resolution on Series S. That's 1080p. Obviously upscales to 4K, which is what everything does these days anyway. But 1080p games, 60 frames, as long as they do that, they don't have to worry. They can just simply say, right, okay, no more going forward. None of these games have ray tracing. None of these games have some of these high level lighting effects and things like that. We can just put the game on the Series S. It'll work good enough. It'll do a good enough job. But let's focus on a Series X and then a discless Series X so that we can kind of save people money in the meantime. And I think people will probably upgrade. You'll probably tend to find most Series S people will end up upgrading to a discless version of a Series X.
I can't say ray tracing appeals to me. I turn it on, I'm like, oh, that's nice, and then I turn it off
again.
It
has to be. You know what the problem is with ray tracing? It has to be applied in the right method. If you see Forza Horizon haven't implemented ray tracing in the outside of Forza Vista in terms of an actual visual effect, because it doesn't make a difference. When you're traveling at those speeds around an open world, it's not going to make much of a you're not going to pay attention to it. But what they have used is ray tracing audio, so the actual sound bounces off the canyons, and it brings more depth in that perspective. So you can still use ray tracing from an audio perspective, I would think, for the Series S, kind of if they went down that route. But I think they just can it all together from a visual perspective. But it has to be done correctly. Like ray tracing's either a massive hit or a massive miss, and I think ray tracing worked well on Metro Exodus when they implemented it. It certainly worked well on Doom Eternal. But is it essential to get the best out of a game? No. Especially when you see Unreal Engine 5 and the Lumen engine. I think ray tracing is going to be kind of put on the back burner when people get to grips with Unreal 5 and their lighting capabilities. So I think, yes, we'll probably see refreshes, but probably near the end of the generation.
Yeah,
General C, what are you most anticipating?
Back for Blood, because Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
Obviously Halo.
Yeah.
It's a big obvious one. Not too interested in Battlefield. I've never really been a huge Battlefield player. Only recently with playing with you and Stu and all that.
Yeah.
I'm not really into racing games, but Forza Horizon 5 is definitely one I am looking forward to playing, and I will be doing a pass or play on that for sure.
Yes.
Dying Light 2 as well. Although I wasn't really a big fan of the first one, this second one looks bloody amazing.
Yeah.
The new Saints Row early next year. I've always been a huge fan of the Saints Row games. I don't understand why people are so bent out of shape over this new one. It's a reboot. People should expect it to be a bit different.
Yep.
That's pretty much it, though, with all I can think of. Oh, and a Plague's Tale Requiem, obviously. That looks like it's going to be a good game. And I obviously did a pass or play on the previous one, and I feel I gave that a must play.
Yeah. Yes, you did. It's most definitely a must play game. 100%. And they, in terms of what they do graphically as well, like that was... Plague Tale 1 was up there in terms of story and in terms of quality with The Last of Us. I don't care who says it. 100% it was.
It was a great game. The story was amazing.
Really, really good story. Really great acting. I like that they didn't stick with the Western actors, and they were all very much European. Especially in like it wasn't English characters either. Like they were like, I'm sure they were French. Were they not French characters?
Yeah,
French. I mean, I like the way they make you initially hate the kid that's with you, but
God, yeah.
because in terms of the story, you just get so attached to the characters. I hated him at the start, but then like because of the story was just so good, I ended up growing to like the character.
Yeah, 100%. I really can't wait to see what they do for the next one. Like it is going to be. If they do that right, that is quite easily going to be sitting up there for a contender of Game of the Year next year. I don't see why it shouldn't. If they have the same impact, it would fully deserve it.
Quickly flick through a list of other games that I might have forgotten, but there's nothing here in this list that's really appealing to me.
Yeah. Shaun.
But yeah, those are my picks.
Sweet. Shaun. You're an all-platform man. So no doubt your list might be varied. So bring it on. Most anticipated.
Well, I'll get the obvious ones out of the way of Forza Horizon, Elden Ring. I love Dark Souls and Bloodborne. I don't play them solo though. They've got a friend that I always play through co-op, and it's just a blast. So
Harry,
I don't know if Elden Ring has co-op or not. That's one thing I haven't heard.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm the same. My game share partner basically walks me through it because he's like hardcore Dark Souls. I think he's like 100%ed all of them. And he just kind of I just stand in the corner out of the way and pick him up when he needs picking up.
Shaun, you need to get Harry, if it is co-op Elden Ring, you need to get Harry to play it with you.
I'll try.
About it.
I'll try. Try being the key word as well. But yeah, I just found they were more fun with a friend, even though they were still fun on your own. But it just took a bit of pressure off, and also when you do die constantly, it's more funny because your friend's dead as well with you. So yeah, looking forward to Elden Ring. There's a game. I don't know if I'm looking forward to it in the way of excited to play it, but I'm just curious of how it's going to turn out, and that's WWE 2K22 because last year's got delayed. It's like the first time WWE skipped a year sort of thing, and God knows how long. And apparently it's still not going very well. So, and obviously the last entry that did come out was just a train wreck.
Yes.
So I'm curious. I'm curious about the release of that one. Starfield as well. I'm curious about. I love space stuff anyway, so I'm more than likely going to like it, even though we don't know what any of it is. Yeah. Is Gotham Knights still slated for next year?
Yes.
Yes. Then I imagine I will enjoy that as well because I've loved the
I totally
Arkham
forgot
games.
about that. Totally forgot about that.
So I'll be looking forward to that. And then it wouldn't be an appearance for me if I didn't mention the old Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope.
Yeah, only you would be anticipated for that game.
It's such a good game, the first one. It's a real-time strategy game where you don't have to constantly be at like the height of concentration. You can just sit back and enjoy it. Not real-time strategy, even turn-based strategy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one as well.
Sparks of nope from me.
So, yeah. So Sparks of
Watch your mouths.
Oh dear me. Yes, phenomenal. It's I'm surprised you don't have Pokemon on that list. Have you never been a big Pokemon player?
I love Pokemon. It's just I tried not to mention too many things that everyone else mentioned. Otherwise, my list would have been exactly the same, pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am looking forward to. I'm not overly looking forward to Diamond and Pearl remakes.
No,
just because
they're a pass to me.
Yeah, the art style kind of took me by surprise. I think when they first announced it, because I was expecting like a Sword and Shield sort of expanded version of Diamond and Pearl, and then they showed it, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
okay,
looks more like a mobile game.
But I will eventually get round to playing it, but I imagine I won't get that one on launch. But Arceus Legend, I will, 100%.
Yeah, I was going to say, and the problem with Nintendo as well is that regardless of when you pick it up, it's going to be the same price.
Oh yeah,
I mean, 50 years from now, it's still going to be 50 quid, no matter what you do. Like they're never going on sale, ever.
There's
no.
another game I forgot about.
Yeah,
Suicide Squad killed the Justice League.
Yes, I forgot about that. I don't know. Is Avatar scheduled for next year still? Is Avatar coming out next year?
I'll have a quick check.
Because Avatar is definitely high on my list if it is next year.
That's a Ubisoft game, right?
Yes. Frontiers of Pandora 2022. Yes, it is. It is slated for next year. Then yes, that adds to my list as well. Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. 100%.
I don't know.
Apparently it's going to be December the 16th, 2022.
Oh, that's slated for a delay.
It's kind of close.
That is slating it for a delay. That's a delay if ever I've seen one. Oh dear me. But that looks phenomenal. Like that really did look tremendous. And I'm a big Avatar fan as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that game and how it plays. Specifically I just hope it doesn't turn out like as grandiose as Anthem was, where you can fly around in this big open world and you can do X, Y, and Z, and turns out to be a massive flop. I really hope Avatar doesn't end up like that, where you can fly around and you can explore the world, but then there's such a lack of content. Like, I hope it doesn't do that. But I also hope it doesn't go back to its typical Ubisoft open world traits.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Giant trees that are Ubisoft towers, and
that's why it doesn't appeal to me, because I got like 30 something hours into Assassin's Creed Valhalla and I felt like it wasn't going anywhere.
I finished that game, so I can't say nothing. I put 77 hours into that game. That finished the campaign and finished vast majority of the side stuff. Haven't played the expansions yet. I do have the first expansion, the Ireland one, but I haven't played it.
I was really looking forward to it.
Because there's just so many more games to play, and I just can't spend all my life playing Assassin's Creed. Like, it's another 30-40 hours worth of expansion. I can't do it. There's so much more I need to play. But yes. Yeah, and another one as well. The Suicide Squad by Rocksteady. Killed the Justice League, was it?
Yeah, Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. That looks very interesting.
We haven't seen gameplay of that yet, though, have we?
Did they show gameplay? I can't remember.
I only ever
Check that.
remember the trailer, which featured Outcast, Bombs Over Baghdad.
Did they show gameplay, or am I just imagining that?
I think you just imagine it. Yeah, it's connected to your headset again, Shaun, for some reason.
There we go.
Hey.
Oh no, it was the Gotham Knights they showed gameplay
Yes,
for, wasn't it?
that's right. Yeah.
That's where I'm getting confused.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued to see both of them. Definitely.
Well, we'll likely see more gameplay next month because they got that DC fandom, and that's where they announced both of those games. Was it last year?
Yeah.
So
let's hope to show a little bit more of them then. Fingers crossed.
I'm expecting to see. I know NetherRealm said that they're prioritizing the next Mortal Kombat, but I don't know if I can trust their word. I'd imagine they've been working on Injustice for quite a while.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting Injustice game to be announced.
We'll have to wait and see. I don't think we'll cover off TGS because I don't expect much from Tokyo Game Show. I think that's going to be focused heavily on things like Game Pass and what Japanese studios are bringing things into Game Pass, or support for games like that are already on other platforms that are coming onto Game Pass or coming into Xbox for the first time. But what we'll finish off, we won't even cover the Game Awards. I think we'll leave that for another week. But we'll cover off with, now we've discovered our most anticipated games coming out for the next 2 years. What is your most anticipated game, singular? If you could choose one game for the remainder of this year that is slated to come out for the remainder of this year, what is your most anticipated? Shaun, go.
Oh, it's got to be Halo.
That was just too easy. Easy.
No, I really want to know where the whole Cortana situation is going. I'm not really that minded by Atriox. I'm sure he'll be a great character within it. I want to know I want to end this Cortana. All right, I kind of know what happens because some arsehole spoiled it. But I still want to see. I still want to see how it plays out. It's what I thought was going to happen, so it's not like it's like, oh my goodness, it's what I expected to happen.
Yeah.
But I still want to see it play out.
Fair enough. Yep. General C, one game.
I'd have to say Halo as well.
Halo.
I'm a big Halo fan. As much as I'm worried that it could be a failure, I'm still hyped for it because I'm a Halo fan. So I just can't help but be hyped for it. Hopefully I'm wrong.
Yep. Fair enough.
Hopefully I'm wrong and it is a really good game.
Yeah, we all hope it is. It's just obviously we've not seen anything of the campaign, which is why we're getting nervous.
It's like I said though, if 343 fails this time, they really need to take a look at what's going on there because they're
100%.
not getting the job done.
Yeah, 100%. Shaun, are you going to follow in suit with the rest of them, or?
Nope, I'm going to go Forza Horizon for my most anticipated. I love, like I said many times now, I love racing games, and Forza Horizon games last me literally until the release of the next one. So
yeah,
it's going to be a game that lasts me multiple years.
The only thing stopping me playing Forza Horizon 4 at the minute is the fact that I've seen Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm like, I don't want to play this anymore.
This is old.
Yeah, that's it. I agree with Shaun, so we're going 2 for 2 here. Forza Horizon 5 is also my most anticipated game for the remainder of this year. Same applies. Like that game just looks, and I don't know how they've managed it on the previous engine, but that game looks like leaps beyond Forza Horizon 4, and I don't know how they've managed it in such a short period because that just looks next level. Like this sheer detail they've put into this game, that it's the largest world they've ever made. The variance of areas, the lighting effects, the sound, everything that they've done is just a step above what it was on the previous one. If you have a look from 3 to 4, the differences weren't actually that different. Like, they added seasons, and they added and it changed the area. But other than that, it was very much the same game. This doesn't this is definitely a step above in every department, from audio to visual to lighting to gameplay to modes on release to the car library on release. Everything's a step above. So 100%. Not that, again, both me and Shaun will be loving and can't wait to play Halo. It's, again, Halo is not a most anticipated. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm not excited like I am with Forza.
I wonder if in Forza they're going to do some sort of themed event to do with the Mexico Day of the Dead. That'd be interesting to see.
I really hope so. I love the whole Mexican Day of the Dead look. So even the Disney film Coco, just the sort of the theme itself, I absolutely love. So I hope there's something like that in Forza.
100%. I think they will do as well, and they'll do it. But I think they'll do it. They'll do it justice. They'll do Day of the Dead justice, because obviously you've got to remember as well, Day of the Dead is a celebration of the dead, but it's also a very somber time. So I think they'll do it in the right way. But yeah, I'm intrigued to see how they've managed it, and just seeing some of the tech they've put into it, like the sandstorms and things. Jesus, not being able to see where you're going or what's happening, and then obviously you've got the tropical thunderstorms and when they're kicking off. But you've got different, and then the weather moves depending on the area you're in, and depending on what parts of Mexico you're in, you've got different things. So if you're in the desert, you're going to get the sandstorms. If you're by the coasts, you're more likely to see these tropical thunderstorms. Then you've got the murkiness of the rainforests. It just looks insane, top to bottom. But I've also got to agree on the terms of Halo. I'm intrigued to see what is going on with the Cortana storyline. I'm intrigued by that. But I'm also intrigued because of its open world necessity, how the objectives work and what kind of objectives we can see in Halo. What are the side quests we've got in Halo? How do they work? And how do they affect the story? If they affect the story at all. That's the one thing that I'm most interested to learn about. How do these things affect the story or what you do? Or does anything affect the story? Apparently, if you take out a gun emplacement, it's going to help a little bit further down the line with Marines and enforcements. But at the same time, having lack of enforcements in that game, will it really affect your ability to power through and do it? Or is it going to be a large battle at some point that requires loads of enforcements? And if you haven't taken out all of the gun emplacements, is that battle going to be nigh on impossible to overcome? There's a lot of questions that remain around Halo, whereas I think I know enough about Forza to be more hyped for that game.
So the big thing about Halo as well is it is going to be a 10-year game.
Yeah.
So with that being said, are they going to bring some sort of story content to it on a yearly basis?
Yeah. I will hope to do some kind of expansion. And I mean, they've got...
Maybe not a yearly, but...
Yeah. Maybe every now and again, but I think they've got the lore in the Halo universe to do whatever they want. There's so much stuff in the Halo. If you have a look at the lores, the comics, the books, everything that's been created in Halo, there's so much you can go into that they haven't explored.
To be honest with you, I want to see more of Locke and his team. I didn't mind Locke. I just didn't think he should have been the main protagonist in 5.
That's what I say about Halo 5. Halo 5 is the greatest Halo spin-off that never existed.
So I think it's a good game. He's a good character and his teams are good. I just don't think it was a Halo in the sense of it should be a mainline. It's it should be like an ODST.
Yeah. 100%. But I think you could easily put Locke's team in as a not as a DLC, because of course you'll get all these updates and things as part of being in Gamepass, but also just as part of their 10-year plan. a bit like Sea of Thieves. Like you'll get these as incremental updates. Like okay, like this has just happened, and this is like a new event has just occurred, and such is coming into it. And I think over the period, like Sea of Thieves, new things will be added. And I think Locke's team could be like a side quest / side mission that could be added to it, no problem. Depends on the world that they've built, and that's one thing no one's seen.
I'm wondering how they've got plans to have your own Spartan have its own story. So I'm wondering if they're going to do some sort of story campaign with your own Spartan.
Yeah, and how they work that in.
Because that's the sort of like the thing I get from when they're talking about your own Spartan having its own story in the world of Halo.
Yeah. I think you can carry on your multiplayer not equipment, but your multiplayer armor and things over onto your story and your campaign, can't you? As far as I'm aware.
I'm wondering if the reason why co-op campaign has been delayed is because the second character filling in that spot, or the third character or fourth character, if it's going to be a 4-player co-op, I'm wondering if they will be people's multiplayer characters. And they're finding that a struggle to transfer that between the multiplayer and the campaign.
Could be. I know tethering's got a lot to do with it, though. Figuring how to work tethering, because normal tethering, like in Halo, kind of slingshots you back to the lead person. If they get too far out, then you automatically go to them. And obviously, if you've got an open world game, unlike previous Halos, where you've got side quests and you've got different objectives and things, and if everyone strays and you go, okay, well, the main story's over here, but you've got a gun emplacement here, and over at the top here, and we're going to split up and go X, Y, and Z, but then is the slingshot thing going to force people to go back to that one player if it gets too far out? I think that's the one thing that they're going to have to do. And then, obviously,
that's something I didn't even consider.
If somebody dies, where they're respawning, or they're respawning on the first player, in which case that they're too far away from the objective. Is the objective point going to be a certain place on the map? A respawn point going to be a place if you die, as opposed to just the lead character? That's the main problem that they're having.
Yeah, I didn't even consider that when I thought about that. So that makes sense. That actually does make sense to why it would have been delayed if that's an issue.
Because previous Halos didn't have that problem. It was like a semi-open world, but you didn't have objectives. You had the one objective, and that was the campaign. So you all went the same direction, whether it was slightly derailed or not. It was all pretty much heading the same place. You're not doing that in this Halo. You can go in different directions. You can do different things. So keeping all players together, and this is why the Borderlands guy came out and said, listen, yeah, we've been doing it for a while, but it's not easy. Like, it is not easy to make a big open world game where everybody can go in different directions and have it so that it still feels like you're all going towards the same objective.
Yeah, I fully understand that now. I get the whole reason why they delayed it.
So I'm looking forward to it, and obviously it'll be worth the while co-op does come, but I think the reason it's not such a big deal for me for the co-op is because we still have a campaign, we still have a fully fledged multiplayer. And that multiplayer as well, especially if you've got a group of lads that love playing Halo, you can all just jump on, have a custom game, fight against each other, or get a team together and go and play online against another team of people, or do big team battles, whatever you want to do. It's still going to be able to play with your friends on Halo, just not campaign co-op for the start, for a couple of months. And I think those first couple of months will fly by. I think people will... 3 months isn't massive in the grand scheme of things. It's just not. Like, Jesus, the last 2 years have disappeared in COVID. They've literally vanished. 3 months is going to be nothing. That's my opinion, though. But never mind. It has been a tremendous and longer than expected episode today. So thanks to everybody who tuned in. A massive thank you to both General C and Shaun the Sheriff for joining us this evening. And we will get our outros done. We will start with our guests. First of all, Shaun of the Gamers Watch crew and ILP Lognet. if you let people know where they can find you, brother, have you got any articles coming up, and what other additional content have you guys working on?
You can find me on Twitter at Shaun the Sheriff. I've got a few ideas for articles that I haven't. They're sort of in the fleshing out stage. One is focusing on how games can sort of explore mental health and different social aspects through gameplay, and that's using obviously Psychonauts 2 and a game called Signs of the Sojourner.
Yep.
And then another one, I really want to highlight like accessibility in games and how the various ways games can do it. So you've got the obviously is it the adaptive controller it's called?
Yeah.
The Xbox One. Yeah. So you got that, and then you've got different like just general settings in gameplay, and then you got the like gameplay mechanics itself. So those are the two that I'm sort of trying to draft up at the moment. As for Gamers Watch, you can find us on Twitter again at Gamers Watch Crew, or on YouTube, which is youtube.com/GamersWatch. We have a new episode premiering Friday at I want to say 8 p.m. British Standard Time. Nearly got it wrong. Nearly got it wrong. Harry made that mistake yesterday, and I slated him for it. So I nearly made the same mistake. So 8 p.m. British Standard Time, it's premiering, and we are going through The Artful Escape, and Duncan's indie game for this episode is Mad Streets, which kind of looks like a Gang Beasts mashed with a brawler.
Yes, it looks interesting, to say the least. That'll be interesting to hear what he thinks on that one. But yeah, if you don't already subscribe to Gamers Watch Crew on YouTube, please go over and do so. The video element that you've introduced for the podcast really does kind of bring it to the next level. It was already funny and stupid previously, but the video and graphical elements that have been brought to that now just really make it stand
Makes
out.
it
Yes.
that much more stupid.
Yes.
You've done an amazing job with that, Shaun.
Go and watch
You really
Burger Man.
did a great
Burger
job.
Man will show you why you need to watch it on YouTube.
He's going to be on a shirt. He'll be on a shirt within the next few weeks.
Yes. You need to make a Burger Man plushie.
I'll give it to my nephew for a present. Give him nightmares
forever. Forever and ever.
Yeah. Burger Man posters. That's what we want.
Dear me.
He'll be everywhere. I'll petition for him to be. I was gonna say I'll petition him to be the new Burger King mascot.
Jesus, yeah. I'll give him everybody nightmares.
Just put a crown on it. It's the Burger King.
Instead, that old, I can't remember what it was. It was an old advert years ago, and it was Belly's gonna get you. Instead of that, it's just Burger's gonna get you.
Yeah,
that was a Nike advert. Belly's gonna get you. Belly's gonna get you.
It was horrifying.
Dear me. But yes, you all need to go and subscribe. Go and subscribe to the Gamers Watch on podcast. Jesus, we have to go on a long time now. Gamers Watch podcast on YouTube. Obviously, if you want to listen to it, or you don't have the time, or if you're driving, then you can tune into them on Spotify, Apple, and all of your other podcast related applications. Next up, General C.
Hello.
Let people know, brother, what you've got coming up and where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at _general_C, and you can find me on YouTube. I have my Pass or Play episode for The Artful Escape coming up on Saturday at 5 p.m. UK time. And I'm also on the Gamers Watch podcast on Friday.
Which will be awesome, as always. Of course, congratulations again for General C being now part of both the Gamers Watch podcast and the Midweek Mix-Up Collective.
Thank you both so much, and thank you, Harry, and
both of them, to be honest. Awesome to have you both.
Shown me so much support. Thank you. I can't thank you enough for the amount of support you have all shown me.
It's well deserved. Well deserved. Really, really good content. Really like the pass or play that you do as well. That's just getting better by the episode.
Thank you.
And yeah, really good. So continue that, and of course, look to see exactly what you kind of produce alongside the Gamers Watch crew as well for content on that channel, as well as part of their podcast a little bit more going forward as well. That is going to be
There
awesome.
will actually be a Halo Infinite Series X unboxing for the Gamers Watch channel and the Elite Series controller as well.
Awesome stuff. Really looking forward to that. Next up, Shomberlon. Let people know where they can find you, brother, and if you're going to get a chance to play some games over the next couple of days.
I could tell you for now, I ain't going to be playing any games over the next couple of days. That's pretty sold. But you can find me lurking on Twitter. And if you do occasionally see me on Xbox, you can find me under Shomberlon for both.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Usually he's playing something kind of multiplayer-esque. When you are online, of course. I don't know whether or not you've been playing Apex recently, but usually you see him on some kind of multiplayer game. So I'm no doubt.
Not so much. I mean, the only
Not so much
multiplayer games, it's Apex. I haven't played.
You've been playing Cursed a lot.
Been playing Cursed, yeah. That's pretty much what I've done every day. Because I bought the season pass, which for like £8, they do like it's almost like a mobile game type thing where you have to log in every day and do your challenges to rank up. So I've just basically been doing them just to get my money's worth, and then switching off. So that takes what, half an hour, 40 minutes maybe for a couple of matches. Sometimes I do the challenges in one match and I turn it off again. So that's pretty much. But I'm thinking I haven't gotten into Days Gone, so I might actually, if I do have time, try and jump onto that.
Yeah, it's a
I'd
relatively
say
large
Days
game,
Gone
but
is a good game.
so it's all right. It's all right. It's quite easy to get into, to be honest. I don't think the story's that deep. It's quite easy to pick up. Gameplay is all right. It's got a decent enough gameplay loop. Have you played any of it yet, Shaun?
Yeah, I've played. I think I'm getting something to fix my bike for the first time. No, I'm not. I've gone past that. My bike's been nicked, and I'm in a.
Yeah, I know which.
It's been broken down, and I'm in the area where you find who did the stealing.
Encampment.
Yeah. That's where I'm at. It's not so much that I'm not into it. Sometimes I forget I have a PlayStation. It's just forget it's there. It's just habitual to pick up a control pad and turn it on.
I unplugged my PS4 and I put it to the side ages ago, and I've not plugged it in ever since.
Yep, and that's unfortunate, but it just is what it is. Like I say, the only reason I haven't turned mine on as much as I really should, and I've still got The Last of Us 2 to finish. The only reason I haven't turned it on is simply just because it just feels so. It feels so slow compared to playing on the series consoles. Like it's more of it feels like a chore, especially with the load times and things. But that was the same when I had before I got the Series S, when I was booting up the One X to do like game streaming and things. I was like, oh, this feels so sluggish. Like, I'll just turn this off. Doesn't matter. Forget that. I'm just gonna get the Series X on. Never mind. You can find me on Twitter at WandrinDutch, and here again, YouTube at WandrinDutch. Usually we do gameplay streams and things like that, but at the moment, due to the fact that I am actually tackling 2 custom Xbox Series S designs, my own and another for Xbox Mic, you will not see me doing a gameplay stream probably for another week or so, until mine's completed. Mine's hand-painted, so it takes a little bit more time. But once that's sorted, you will first of all see an unboxing of my custom Series S, and obviously showing that off. That is a Fable designed one, and then a boxing of Xbox mixes. So I'm doing a reverse version, but that one will be after he's received his and done the unboxing of it. You will see my video of me showing it off, but also boxing it ready to put it to him, as opposed to an unboxing. It's the reverse order. It's a reverse unboxing. I'll be packing it up and then posting it off, so you'll be seeing that from me.
Rebox therapy.
A rebox therapy. I'm packaging something back up and sending it off instead of unboxing it. But yes, so you can see us all again next week, same time, 7 p.m. BST, 2 p.m. EST, and 11 a.m. PST, right here for the Midweek Mix-Up podcast. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope you have an awesome night, Go and enjoy some games, and we'll see you all again next week. Goodbye.
Thanks again for having me, Dutch.
You're welcome, brother. Anytime.